My moment right now. One look and run again. Hearts racing, can't pretend. This danger's what we defend. Don't stop, don't speak. We're crossing every line. Clock ticks, heartbeat. We're running out of time. Go! We're alive tonight. Into the fight. No turning back now. Go, go, go. Drilling through my veins, breaking all the chains. Fast cars, rooftop lanes, dancing with the flames. Don't stop, don't speak. We're crossing every line. Clock ticks, heartbeat. We're running out of time. Go! We're alive tonight. Into the fight. No turning back now. Go, go, go.
Hello and welcome to the Mac25 Gaming Trinity Series esports event. I am your host Flash Dagger and will be taking you through tonight's proceedings with a couple of very exciting races in store. Not just for our competitors but our viewers as well. It's going to be very, very interesting. The Trinity Series comprises esports competitions across three of the main racing titles on the market: Gran Turismo, ACC and LMU, with this stream obviously focused on the Gran Turismo competition. The Trinity Series acts as somewhat of a bridging competition that closes out the competitive scene within Mac25 Gaming for 2025. But with the release of new tracks and new cars and the Spec 3 update, it's really going to give these drivers in the competitive scene an opportunity to test these tracks out in a very competitive setting before the 2026 season gets underway, for which there are some very big plans. Tonight, we have our two semi-final races to determine who will go through to Thursday night's grand final competition. The competition itself will be fierce. This is not to be missed. Not only do we have some very exciting races, but we also have a very special guest who has now not only experienced it at all, but will be able to give some first-hand insight into what it takes to make the transition to competitive esports level racing. Before all that, let's take a look at the races we have in store for you tonight. So first things first, we're going to have a look at semi-final 1 and some of the teams that are involved. A lot of these teams will be familiar to anyone who has been around the Mac25 esports scene over the last year or has been involved in GT Pulp. You'll see the likes of Customs GT, Jokers, Azteca, GT Spain, Owls, to name but a few. But there are a lot of new entrants into the scene that maybe haven't been around before. The likes of Dream Team Racing, the Irish outfit, who will be led by Jay Murphy, the World Tour driver, and there'll be many other top drivers amongst that. We will have in our second slot 2, semi-final 2, and of other familiar teams involved: Alien Motorsport, home to world champion Mehdi Hafidi, to name but a few. Visceral Esports, the departing Jaime Marty, making a large impact in the Spanish scene and played a big part in the elite racing at GT Pulpy this year. AGT, Anexion, and many others from Krakensteins and ERS Elite Racing Squad, as well as many debutants, will also be involved in this series. So some very exciting races, but those are the teams. We'll have a bit more of a deep dive into those in a moment, but what we want to really look at is what are the races and what's involved in them. So let's have a little look at the track itself. And the track itself is going to be Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, who many of you will know just released this past Thursday. A long time in the making, in the waiting, should I say, for Gran Turismo players, but it's finally here, and what a track it has turned out to be. This will be, for many, the first time we're going to see this track tested by some of the world's best prior to the GT World Series this weekend. And in terms of a track, my goodness, it's a historic racing venue for many decades. It's located on a man-made island in the Montreal region of Canada, just over 4 kilometers. It's famed for its very, very fast straights, multiple chicanes, the last of which is absolutely horrific, to be quite honest. Following a very, very long high-speed straight. It's the exit wall is aptly named the Wall of Champions. For a number of champions, Damon Hill, Schumacher, Villeneuve, Button, Vettel have all succumbed to this infamous wall. If any of you have practiced in this track, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I think we should have a counter for what exactly happens on the exit of that chicane, because it will be treacherous. But as if that track itself wasn't bad enough, as if that wasn't enough of a challenge, let's take a look at the car. And the car is a McLaren P1 GTR 16. Born out of a demand from P1 owners who pretty much have more money than sense. They wanted a car that was even faster, had even more performance than the P1, and it was built and made available only to current P1 owners. It's got almost 1,000 horsepower, which for reference to yourselves playing the game is almost double that of the McLaren Group 3 GT car, which you will see this weekend in the GT World Series finals, piloted by Jay Murphy, who will be in our first race this evening. There's no road restrictions in this car. It's an absolute powerhouse of essentially what McLaren engineering were able to put together. And with itself, with the battery power, with the DRS, with these chicanes and this new track, it's going to be an almighty challenge in its own right. Let's have a look at the race. So what is the combo? What is involved? And what is the race? It's going to be 23 laps. And it's going to be at sunset. Tire wear is going to be on ×4. The fuel consumption will be on ×2. Fuel shouldn't really be an issue. Tire wear can be an issue, and we can talk about that a little more. My understanding is that the tires have the tire wear, particularly because of the battery deployment, can wear out the rears very, very quickly. The tire type is racing. And what makes this an incredibly interesting race is that all tires are available, combined with there being no restrictions on pit stops. So if you're so wish, you can try a no stop. I don't know if that works. I haven't tested it. You can stop once, twice, 3, whatever you want to do, whatever tire combinations you want, you can make it happen. The first race will obviously set maybe more of a precedent. Race 2 may have more of an idea of what strategies actually work, but the first race is going to be the guinea pigs. There is one factor which will play a part in this race, and I will say this: as a driver, I don't like it. As a spectator, I absolutely love it, and that is that the slipstream strength is on weak. Now, if you're sitting there sort of grimacing a little bit because you know what that means, it means one thing. Entering these chicanes is going to be absolute madness. It's going to be chaos. The cars are fast enough. It's weak slipstream. Hold on to your seats because this is going to be crazy on a brand new track with very little race experience. I don't know what I'm in for in terms of calling this. But that is the race. We're going to have 2 of those starting at 1:30 the hour. I can see in chat now that we've got Mr. Alf, a very integral part of helping us get ourselves ready for the GT Pulpy. Good to see you. Jocko, we've got in as well. We've got Nick. Visceral Esports, good to see you guys. Got Severi and a few of the DTR guys in there as well. Great to see you all. Hope you're all in here looking to support your favorite drivers. Full transparency, I know the teams. I don't know which driver they've all elected to go through because they can choose any one of them. But I do anticipate some big names from the competitive scene. Let us know what your experience has been off Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Let us know if you're enjoying it. Let us know what you think of the car combination and who you're supporting tonight. It'll be great to hear what your thoughts and feelings on that are throughout the stream. So with that in place, I think it would be well within our time to bring in a very special guest. And just to give you a bit of a prelude, before we get into tonight's racing, we're very fortunate to have some time with a special guest, someone who actually started out in a controller and worked their way through the esports racing scene as this broadcast represents. They've raced at GT Pulpy for many years. They've made their way to the world finals, not just to compete and turn up, but scoring a podium finish against the world's best, because they are one of the world's best. To learn a bit more about what it takes to get here and what lies ahead, would very much like you all to welcome Mikolaj Sedziak, aka Mumu, to the broadcast. Welcome, Mumu. How are you? Well, I'm sure they're all glad to hear from you, and thanks very much for getting up your time on a week whereby you are getting ready to head off to Japan. So thank you very much for the time. I just thought we'd just start off very easy, Mumu, in terms of how did you actually get into Gran Turismo in the first place? Because I saw a tweet recently, and it was very touching tweet. Let's let you talk through that.
him, go through the Gran Turismo 6 career mode, trying to beat his times on the Ayrton Senna deal, which is where I got my sort of competitive spirit from.
Okay, that's great. I mean, I know that you started out on the controller. In terms of moving from controller and moving on to the wheel, how have you found that transition?
Well, it took me, I don't know, maybe 3 months to beat my controller pace on the wheel, but it's more about the consistency that's hard to find. It's very easy when you first start out on the wheel to get a bit trigger happy with the throttle. Maybe not so much these days with the BOP restricting how much power is actually in the cars, but more so back then, it was very easy to just, get too excited on the throttle and every so often end up facing the wrong way. So it does take a lot of time to get used to that and ironing out your inputs, but yeah, I'd say it depends, of course, on how quick you are on the controller, but it shouldn't take you more than 3-4 months.
Yeah,
Controller times on a wheel, in my opinion, at least.
fair enough. What would be, there might be a lot of people watching, who've either got something from the Black Friday sales or waiting for their Christmas present. They've got a new wheel. We've been around a long time. We've seen a lot of people who've been disillusioned with the wheel, found it difficult. What would be the one thing you would say to someone who's making that decision to go from pad to wheel, in terms of starting that process?
Just be persistent with it. You will get frustrated. I mean, I could tell you that for free, but it's just about sticking with it and not giving up on the wheel, because at the end of the day, you are going to eventually be faster than the controller, because the controller can only take you so far with the limitations it has these days in the game. So it's just about chipping away at it, playing, maybe 3 or 4 times a week even, just for a couple of hours or so, but staying persistent is what I would suggest, especially how I got to the level I am.
Perfect. When did you, because you obviously are at an absolute elite of the elite level, when did you realize that you could compete with the best in the world and you would start to take it seriously? I have an idea and a particular weekly race or daily race and week in mind whenever I saw it. I don't know if you're thinking of the same thing, but when did you...
I am as well.
When did you realize you could compete with the best in the world and you were absolutely deserved to be alongside some of those names?
Well, if we're being honest, in terms of qualifying for the World Tours, it was only this year, really, in the official season, where it was after Spa, really, the 4th round of the season, where I was like, okay, I can actually pull this off. But in terms of having elite pace,
yeah,
I'm guessing you were thinking of that one Watkins Glen daily race we had a few years ago.
2 years ago. 2 years ago, around about May, something like that.
March, April time. It was when the Supra was just on rails and it was really hard to beat anything. But I was managing to make the GTR work at Watkins.
Yeah.
It was that week where I realised really that at least on some combo.
Well, I'll say it for you. It was the week whenever you absolutely smoked everybody. Pretty much. Yeah.
I was giving Savasic a very good money as well. I think I raced him twice that week and I beat him both times, even though he's in the Supra.
Yeah.
Which was extremely difficult to overtake, to put it lightly.
Yeah. Obviously, you've been with VQS for quite a bit of time now, which is great.
Yeah.
What has been part of a team, which now isn't just a team? VQS has been a stalwart and a real leader, certainly in EMEA, of stability, of people who come and stick with the team. I mean, the team that you brought to Pulpy, which eventually you went out, and I don't think this would be disparaging to any other team, but it was a dominant performance by the team from start to finish.
For sure.
The roster that you brought there, yourself, you had Max Kroll, Flores, and obviously Consta. I mean, I'm not saying this, you could have had a secondary team from the rest of the roster. Lewis, you got Flexi.
There is a story about that,
But there's quite. It's such a strong team. What impact has that team had in your development, being around people of that caliber?
it just raises the level you want to be at. You know, surrounding yourself with such fast drivers that in some cases can be even faster than yourself. So it's about finding your level essentially, and then, you know, if you can, of course, finding a team that is just above that, because then you want to push yourself to their level, and then, you know, it just leads to all round better development. It also can help with testing for other league races, GT World, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's like iron sharpens iron, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously great, but obviously and I've spoken to Alejandro about this before we did this event. We were talking about, you know, who has been part of the fabric of Mach 25 gaming, GT Pulpy, the esports scene, and made it all the way. And he told me that your first year at GT Pulpy as a 16-year-old, you know, your mother left you to the airport and you went yourself, you know?
Yeah, there's, yeah.
So that's a big thing for a young man to be doing, you know, going away.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in Pulpy, and what has been your experience of Pulpy that separates it? Because I've heard so many good things, but from a driver's perspective, what makes it so unique to other competitions out there?
It's just the fact that the availability or the ease of access is so much greater than pretty much any other event, because you don't have to be necessarily the elite of the to compete in, you know, teams competition, and how broad the scope of competition is. It's really great to see all sorts of different teams and different drivers show up, and that's what makes it really special.
Yeah.
And also, obviously the GT World Series is great because you surround yourself with the very best, but having so many people is really cool. And of course the scenery never gets old, in my opinion. The coast and sunrise, waking up from the balcony every morning.
Oh, you're selling it to us.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring up on screen now a tweet that you made, and when I read you the caption, if you can't see your screen, you'll know what it is. It's aged like fine wine. Now, this is your first year of eligibility for GT World Series. You've put that out. That was 4 years ago. You were 14 years old. And if anyone is watching can see, essentially, it's Moo replying on a thread. And you can tell by the screenshot with the tag watch logo and the FIA. This is a GT Sport video or stream. And Moo's commenting this about someone saying, I'll be there one day. And Moo's responding, I'll see you there. I mean, you've prophesized and projected this is going to happen. And in your first year of eligibility, not only did you make it happen, and I'm not criticizing other drivers for this, because look, I'll never be ever, not even 4 or 5 levels close to being part of qualification, but you will hear a lot of talk about, you know, what car are you picking, who's picking whatever car, who's picking that car in this region, who's going to give me the best chance of qualification, and strategizing about it. You weren't interested in that. You just picked Nissan from the outset, which did shock a few people. There were a few raised eyebrows that you would just go out, put your head above the parapet and say, I'm going to take on not just one of the best cars, and I have the utmost respect for Medi, but I'm going to take on the world champion in that car. Was there ever a point where you ever considered a different manufacturer, or were you absolutely committed to Nissan from day one?
I was, for probably the past 8 months, because at the end of the day, like, if you want to qualify for the events, you have to be very comfortable with the car you're driving.
Yeah.
It would have been absolutely no use for me to jump into a week before, just because it had perhaps a slightly more favourable BOP, and to completely ditch my plan. So I was just very committed from the outset to going down and whatever. And yeah, of course, Medi was a great challenge, and it was a really, really stressful season. We both have the utmost respect for each other. But, you know, you have to... I mean, I was analysing sort of his performances in the exhibition seasons prior, and I saw that he went Mazda for one of the seasons and he didn't do particularly brilliantly, with all due respect. And I knew that if I went Nissan, I could have to that, because maybe he went Nissan as a last-ditch attempt to qualify again for the World Series. And I'll be honest, even though I didn't like it, on the surface, considering he scored however many points in the first 2 rounds, I could definitely tell that eventually he was going to crack, and all it took was one lucky break at Sardinia, and that was that. He unfortunately went into the side of Antonio, which caused quite possibly the biggest bombs I've ever seen in an official season race in this region. I mean, I'm still lost for words at that top 3 at Sardinia, but it's just about keeping your head together in these seasons, even if your pace is not top level. I mean, with the point system, anything is really possible. Top 3 splits, in my opinion. So,
well, don't underplay what you did, because you did it all in top split. Is my understanding.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, I've got a split 2 score. Just to top split anyway, just not driver rating at that point. So
yeah, it got a little bit weird towards the end. But the wins and the performance across the season spoke for itself. But in terms of the confidence that you've displayed there, I'm just bringing up a picture of you on the podium. The confidence wasn't unwarranted. It's not arrogance, it's self-belief. You pulled off an incredible strategy in Berlin. Even if you know the result and you haven't seen the race, I would encourage everyone to go back and just watch, because I'm gonna talk about one of the most epic finishes to a race in a live event history. Now, I love to consume Gran Turismo content. I love to watch races. I'm just going to set the table here a little bit for people who maybe haven't seen this race. You were in the very final lap of your very first GT World Series live event. You're just about to hit the Dottinger Straight. You have 2 former world champions, 2 former Toyota Gazoo racing winners. One is the current world championship leader. They're both countrymen. They're both in the same esports team. Walk us through exactly what your thoughts and feelings were with such a long straight on the final lap to make your plan, and essentially one braking zone to go with a podium up for grabs. You're in P5. Walk us through it.
Well, for context, right, in that entire race, I was just saving fuel so I could, maybe have a crack at it on the final lap. And even so, with sitting behind Joao in the Ferrari for the entire lap, I did still have to fuel them in the last lap, so I wasn't even sure I would catch those 2. But obviously, as soon as we got to, the last couple of sectors before the Dottinger, their tyres just completely fell off. I knew that come the end of the back straight, I would have braking advantage over. And I also saved enough fuel to give it everything. But even still, with the way the slipstream worked and the fact you're not allowed to draft, it's always going to be difficult to have a shot into the final corner. But thankfully, Paul gave me the tiniest bump halfway along the straight, which gave me just enough to get past the Zeti, of course, and then I saw him, miss the brakes at the corner. Got one chance. Stick it around the outside and hope I don't shove it into the wall. And I got a little wobble of oversteer, completely threw me off. Did leave a bit of a skid mark in my underwear. And ultimately, it was just relieving, really, that my strategy did pay off in the end, because starting on hards when there was so many cars and meters behind me was a big gamble.
Yeah.
I didn't realise until I got to the end of the first lap that so many were on meters, even down to 8th place or so.
Yeah.
Which makes me think maybe if I went on the meters first, I could have, stuck with the Zeti, saved however much fuel behind him, and then fought for the win. But it's coulda, woulda, shoulda. I could have got even more lucky with traffic and lost the lead anyway. I mean, it's pointless to think about the result, 3 months later.
Yeah, I mean, if you come last, maybe think about it. But I mean, you didn't just you didn't just get a podium that day. In your debut, you were named the driver of the day on your debut. I mean, think of the journey from posting that tweet at 14 years old. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Your first year, you qualify and beat a very well respected world champion for that seat in the most, I'm just going to say it how it is, I think everyone knows, the toughest region to qualify in. Yeah. And you grab that seat and you make podium and driver of the day. When you look back on all that journey, what do you think in terms of what you've done, and where do you see yourself going with the World Finals this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, with the World Finals, with the point system, still everything. 6. So, I'm really looking forward to it, with, travelling to a completely new... I still sort of can't get over it that I'm in this position where considering where I was, 4 or 5 years ago, making daily race C content on YouTube, and then ended up as a World Series driver. It is still a little bit surreal to me, but I'll just have to crack on with it and do as best I can next weekend and see what happens.
Yep.
It is still all to play for.
It is. It absolutely is. I mean, it's still all to play for. And just to wrap up, we are only a few days out from the grand finals of the 2025 GT World Series in Japan. Mikolai, aka Mumu, will be flying out very soon. And just from all at Mac25 Gaming, want to wish you the very best of luck in the finals this weekend, regardless of the outcome. You've had one incredible journey, Mikolai, and the season itself, and just absolutely fantastic. Have you any final words or comments for your supporters before you head off to Japan?
Not really, no. I mean, just have to take it as it comes. Whatever happens. I will be disappointed, of course. I don't come out with a trophy at the end of it, but there's always next year. I can always, aim for an even better season. Still plenty to write in the script, so we'll see.
Well, that's a very, very positive and very pragmatic response, which is demonstrable from how you've approached your goal setting and acting and actioning on those goals. So, again, thank you so much, Mikolai. I'm sure we're all going to root for you. I'll be rooting for you, and you can catch Mumu in the grand finals on the Gran Turismo YouTube channel this weekend. Thank you again. Have a very good evening.
You too. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay then, folks, that was lovely to hear from Mikolai. Just an example of what's come through the Mac25 esports scene, and there could be future Mikolai Sedziak, aka Mumus, within this very race. Slot 1, we're just getting ready. The lobby is in place. Now tonight, I have fortunate or the unfortunate joy of being able to, I suppose, be in control of what camera we're looking at, which I didn't have when we did Pulpy. Now, I don't know, I've never done this before. I'm just going to be completely candid. I'm not even sure if I have the ability to multitask and talk about the drivers on track at the same time, but we'll see what happens. Be nice to know in the chat, which of the preferred views do you like to watch from? Do you want to see the TV camera angles? Do you want to see any particular drivers? In regards to qualification, so it's really simple. There's 14 drivers per race, 28 different teams. Top 7 go through, bottom 7 go home. So we might spend some time looking at the mid-pack when that comes around, but I believe they are just doing some warm-up now before we go into a 10-minute qualifying. We can look at P1 if that P1 is still out on track and just get a little look to see how they're approaching some of these corners and how they're dealing with the battery deployment and dealing with what's going on, how they are attacking these curbs at the end of a straight. You're going to be reaching close to 200 miles an hour here before they hit this chicane. Let's see, does it get all the way up there to 190? Almost, yeah, over 200 miles an hour entry. Heavy braking. Getting the wheel there, he's just a little bit out of shape there. hitting that curveball wrong is going to put you into the wall of champions on the exit. But very much down the straight, you're heading into the Virage Senna. And this is going to be obviously very important if someone decides they want to make an almighty send. But just looking for that traction and biting point coming out and entering into our first of 3 chicanes on the track. And you can see there'll be a lot of curb abuse going on here as we carry on round. Is this going to be full speed? No, there's a bit of a lift and a coast on the soft tire as well. Braking point coming through the Pont de la Concorde. And again, this will be feathering of the throttle. He's decided to come out of that one. I think they're just changing the lobby ready for the qualifying. But this is a lovely track to do some hot lapping on. It's a lovely track to do some TT. How this transpires in terms of a race with very, very talented drivers in its infancy in the game remains to be seen. I don't know the answers to that, but let me know. Yeah, I see Ian saying the wall of champions is a pain. Mr. Alf saying the broadcast is much better, and if you can show drivers by their PSN ID and not their GT ID would be optimal. It would be optimal. It would be, Mr. Alf, but I don't know if my settings are set that way. I don't know if I can leave the lobby at this stage and change that. Let me just check. Yeah, that would have been ideal. If you know in the chat, is there a way for me to change that without leaving the lobby? Can that be... Hold on. Does anyone know in the chat if that can be done? This is someone who obviously never uses lobbies and doesn't really quite know. You can change that easily in spectator mode, right? But hold on. Let's see. Is that what you're looking for there? Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. That gives us a little bit more to work with. Not all the drivers have their team names in their name, but we'll do our very, very best to work with it. You can see obviously Charles from Customs GT. We can see obviously my team are a debutant this year. It's their first time bringing the French outfit into a Mac Gaming competition, but they're on the right lap now. Unlike Pulpy, where we had a one-shot qualifying session, this is actually a 10 minutes qualifying, so I'm wondering if they're just going to get into position at this stage or what way they're going to work this out. But we're going to see all the action unfold before our eyes, and we'll just chop between different drivers as they come our way. We'll flick down and see who we got. We've got the Koa Sportif. We've got Deck from which is Jay Murphy, Irish driver from Dream Team Racing. We've got another Koa Sportif driver. We've got another GT Spain driver, and a few others. Ooh, a 3-second penalty on the outlap. Obviously, that seems to be a pit lane crossing of the lines penalty. Not sure where he'll take that. I think the penalty line is before the chicane, so it might not impact his flying lap if they are in fact starting qualifying at this stage. But again, give me directions, let me know who you want to focus on, who you want to see, and we will work our way through the lobby and monitor what they're doing, how they're doing it, and what options they have available to them. So we've got Azteca Nikito. Looks to me like he is on his flying lap at this stage. We'll have a little look. So a 0.430 for Sector 1. He is setting the benchmark. Gear options there, feathering higher gears being used, looking for that traction and deployment. Because I do understand that the battery exiting can spin up the rears even on the softs because of the power of this almost 1000 brake horsepower McLaren P1 GTR 16 car. I I think Nikita will set this benchmark, and we'll see exactly what he does, or if they're still practicing, because I can't see a 10-minute countdown timer. Maybe Mr. Alf can confirm if I'm not seeing something I should, but again, reaching almost down the Virage de Casino, almost over 200 miles an hour entering into this straight. I don't know how this is going to be with DRS enabled, with custom slipstream, not custom, weak slipstream, which if you're not aware, weak is not weak. Weak is very, very strong because PD do PD things. But there seems to be the benchmark of 128.2, very, very close. Jose Art has just come through himself. He is the preliminary leader. But it's looking like low 27s are where the pace is at from the early finishers of lap 1, and how many laps can they get out before they pit and restart again? Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3 laps before they gotta pit and take new tyres. We've got obviously Jay Murphy in P3. He's come through with a 27.9, so a little bit of work to be done for him. But so far it's the Oils driver, Jose Art, who has taken and shown the pace early on this very, very tricky combo. We can see that Jay Murphy has come in for a fresh set of softs. He'll come out in an out lap, but I think on a flying lap we have Punisher. Punisher has been around the daily races. We've seen his pace really, really increase quite significantly over the last sort of 8 to 9 months. You see certain drivers in the scene and they're thereabouts, and all of a sudden there's just been a spurt of pace. We heard Moo talking about it earlier on. There's a certain race or a certain time whenever you feel that you're hitting your stride and you're beginning to get the pace you think you're capable of. For him it was Watkins Glen a couple of years ago, and for all these drivers there'll be times yourselves as well where you're just going to find this pace that you've and hit a new level where maybe you thought you'd plateaued before. So Mr. Alf is saying this is quality now. I'm not seeing obviously the countdown timer. I'm not sure why that is invisible. Is this a new thing with the new lobby updates where they've removed the countdown timer for spectator mode? I'm not sure, but I guess we'll just play it by ear and see whatever the last lap shows. So let me know in the chat, have any of you tried this out? Have any of you taken the opportunity to give this track a proper go? Have any of you been in this car and can have empathy with what these drivers are experiencing at this stage? But again, the top 3 haven't really changed, and we're on lap 4 now. And there seems to be quite a disparity in pace across these drivers. There seems to be quite a skill gap. Maybe not overall, but certainly on a very tricky combo and car, it appears that there is quite the skill gap. I mean, a full second between P1 and P4 at this level is quite irregular, I would suggest. I'm hoping that slipstream is off in qualifying. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not too sure. Maybe someone in chat can tell me who's a lobby racer. I don't know, but if we do start seeing slipstream being used, then maybe that's going to be a very important factor, where drivers start teaming up with each other to give the slipstream, to give a launch into their fastest lap. And we see Nikito did in fact benefit from that slipstream and did in fact improve to 3rd position. So it would potentially appear to me that slipstream may in fact be on in qualifying, and it may be a case of getting in the tow and leveraging that down some of these very, very long straights. We'll just take a look at Jay Murphy. He's on an out lap. We've got DLX Moore. Another change, CGT Charles has gone through and just ousted Jay Murphy into P5. Jay Murphy will have something to do. We'll have a little look at Jay Murphy in P5. We know he's a very talented driver. He did qualify, and I think a lot of people would agree. Has actually shown more pace since qualifying than maybe he even did before. He was someone who was feared or thought someone to be reckoned with. His confidence has grown from some good showings, certainly in the last race at Pulpy. I know he's going to want to make up for his performance in Berlin. this weekend. But let's take a look at this lap. This is his flying lap down the first. Third gear is an option for the exit there, using the higher gear, removing those extra gear shifts, removing some of the wheel spin from the lower gears from the battery deployment. Let's hope he does not get caught up in traffic. That's one thing to get a slipstream, it's another entirely to be held up in traffic. He's 2/10 down that first sector already, and it looks like he may get impeded here, and he's just lost the rear. You can see when you've got 1,000 horsepower beneath your seat, a battery deploying on the exit of corners, it's the marginal movements that are going to mean everything. The minimal amount of tire squeal, keeping that thing pointed straight, delicate on the throttle is where the pace seems to be coming from. And Charles again has moved up into P2. Charles is finding some pace, and I think Deck is just protecting his tires a little bit there. I think he was really just looking to get some space and get himself a gap. Maybe he felt hindered by the car in front, where he can get himself and protect some of his battery to give himself a flying lap on this level of soft. Gets a little bit of heat into the tires there, but 6/10 off isn't really where we'd be expecting. Remember, it's a top 7 go through as it stands, and the bottom 7 do unfortunately go home. So we got Mr. Alpha's just confirmed that slip is on, but isn't too strong. We know that the slipstream for the race is set at weak, which would suggest that at least in the race it's strong. But let's see, does Deck get anything from his flying lap? They've been going now for what seems like very, very close to 10 minutes. I don't know how much time is left. I can't imagine there's very much time left on the clock to get one lap in. But I imagine this is Deck is putting it down. He's 6/10 down through Sector 1. It's just not happening for the Irishman on this particular combo as it stands. But the pace really seems to be at the front here. We can go through. Is Nikito going to improve in his P4? He's about to come across the line to finish off. What can he get? He's obviously had a very, very poor lap. He's got damage as well on the front end there. That's obviously had a knock somewhere. We'll go on with Charles. Okay, so he's doing his flying lap now. Charles is obviously putting some very good pace. It's only a few tenths off the lead, but that lap that Jose Art did in P1 was obviously absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's quite a gap at this level to be even 2 tenths, but 5, 6, 7 tenths separating the top 5. It's a substantial amount. Mr. Alpha saying they're all pretty much on their last laps, and we've got Charles is almost a tenth up through Sector 1. That is quite incredible if he is able to hold that. Look at that throttle control from 3rd into 4th. Given the clean air by his Spanish compatriot there, let's see what he can do with this lap as it stands. Bring it into the chicane. Using the higher gears to remove some of that torque. And a little touch on the wall there. What's that going to mean for his Sector 2 time? He was purple and he's lost a couple of tenths. He's lost about 3 tenths in that sector alone. I don't think the chicane helped him too much, but still on for a good time. We can have a little look at anyone else on their last lap. Is anyone else coming across to finish? We've got Nikito. He'll be looking to see if he can improve, and it's not an improvement. I'm just wondering, has Deck finished? Has he not made it across the line? Will he not get another lap in, or is he protecting or saving? I'm not too sure what he is doing, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. Yeah, they're all slowing down. It looks like that's qualifying over, guys. So this will be your starting grid. We've got Jose Art in P1, Punisher in P2 with an excellent lap. Charles improving towards the end there in P3. Nikito P4, Jay Murphy P5, GT Spain's David in P6, Moore P7, Galejo in P8, and the Coa Sportive Jocko, Kimi, Angel, Penalva, and a few others with a little bit of work to do. Like we said, you can see that with this being a new track to the game, an incredibly challenging car, that it's exposing a larger skill gap at this stage of the track being in the game. The very tricky car. And I don't know what this will mean for the race. With weak slipstream, remember, anything can happen. That weak slipstream will bridge that skill gap. I know this, having been a benefactor of it in the past, being able to hang with World Tour drivers, but it's not organic pace. So what will this mean for the start? What will this mean for turn 1 and 2 as they go through Virage Senna? What will it mean in relation to getting away? What will it mean for the strategy where they can essentially choose any tire they want to start on, any number of stops? Do you want to have that slipstream to give you the tow and increase your pace? Do you want that clean air to be able to do your own race on your own strategy with no one around you? Will you get caught up in traffic by doing more than one stop, for example? Maybe going for fresher tires. Many different options on the table. Many different ways of attacking this race. It's all to play for. I think we're in for a very exciting race with the drivers we have on track. And I'm sure those in slot 2 who will be looking into this race will certainly be paying close attention to what strategies are deployed from certain positions on the grid, what works, what doesn't work, and will be looking to maybe potentially make a late audible change to their own strategies for race 2. Just keeping an eye there. I can see that Ian says it couldn't keep the heat up in the tires. Had to keep bailing laps. Yeah, it was certainly looking like a almighty handful and challenge. But we're wishing you and everyone else in the race the very best of luck with what comes. I believe that Alejandro will be just getting ready, setting the grid, and taking us out on this race. I guess the question is, for those of you who are in chat, is do you think that all 14 cars will get through turns 1 and 2, the Virage Senna clean? Do you think that we will make it through the final chicane, the Wall of Champions, without at least claiming one victim? Let us know your thoughts. Jack Baldwin is asking, how many people qualify for the final? So Jack, good question. There's 2 races tonight, the semi-final. It's really simple. The top 7 from each race will go through to the grand finals on Thursday evening. We've got my team. Welcome in. Good to see you in here supporting your own teammates. We've got Punisher, as I said, from my team, has done an excellent job. Really handled that very, very well. I mean, to be 5-6 tenths clear of the top 5 is pretty incredible. But it looks like Jose Art, at least on his qualifying lap, has the deployment of the battery, has the tire wear, the traction, the handling of the car. Whatever he's doing something very, very well. So we'll certainly be keeping an eye on him. And we'll be keeping an eye on that mid-pack battle. Really, the danger zone, P5 to sort of P9, thereabouts, that sort of midfield battle. Jay Murphy, P5, can he escape the mid-pack to take himself out of that conversation? Does he get drawn back into it as an elite driver? Does he make decisions based on strategy around this? We do not know, but I can see now that we're getting ready to have our first race. Again, just to clarify for yourselves, if you've just joined us, and we do have the multipliers on the screen, lovely little overlay there. But for those of you who have just joined us for the race, 23 laps at sunset, times 1 on the time, times 4 tire wear, times 2 on the fuel consumption. Tires, any tire is available. No restrictions on pit stop, no mandatory pit stop. Whatever strategy you want to run with. And based on the times there, 23 laps at about 1 minute 30, let's say, per lap, give or take. You're probably looking at somewhere in the region of about a 35-minute race for this particular one. It could all end in chaos. It could be a massive train the whole way around. We do not know, and we will find out any moment soon what is going to happen. This could be our first competitive esports race entering into the Virage Senna. It was difficult enough for me to do it in the Mercedes and circuit experience, let alone having 5 or 6 other cars around me. So what happens, nobody knows, but we will find out. Nick is saying, could be a bit dodgy turn 1 with cold tires. It's a very good point. Very, very good point. Full fuel weight. Entering into that corner, full fuel. It's going to understeer. Tires are going to be cold. You know, how aggressive are you going to be in the throttle exiting the Virage Senna into turn 4? People saying the race. Yeah, we're waiting on the race starting. Oh, and apparently we've missed the start of the race. Did not see anything in the the chat to tell us otherwise, but apparently we're underway. And we do have Charles and Jose Art making that breakaway, and Deck is nowhere to be seen. Do not know what has happened to Jay Murphy. The race has just started, Severi. Didn't see it starting. And yeah, apparently we're underway on lap 2. So lap 1, we have on the medium tyres. We'll have a look at the tyres. Medium tyres for Charles, medium tyres for Jose Art. David is on the racing softs. Galeco on the mediums. Nikito on the mediums. Punisher, he's got damage somewhere. He's on the mediums. He's been involved in something. So he's down from P2 into P6. Penalva, mediums. Mediums. Okay. So we do have an alternate strategy. We do have Jay Murphy on the hard tyre. He has gone for a different option. So he'll be looking potentially to be using a medium or soft tyre later on. And there are some moves being made into Casino de Bomb site, which is a full send corner, hence being etched out of the way was Jay Murphy by, I believe it was Manuel and More. So Jay is moving backwards in the field on this hard tyre. Is that an issue? Maybe not so much. We got the Co Sportive Jocko in 14th, and he himself is in the mediums. So really, we only have one hard runner in the race as it stands, and that is the Irishman. We'll go back up to the leading group and see what is happening here. We can see a 1 second gap with Jose Art to even Charles. I mean, these were two guys in the top 5 in qualifying. The pace that Jose Art has on this track is dominant, to say the least. Even with weak slipstream, Charles is a very, very talented driver, but he is finding it a struggle. If someone can confirm, I believe that Charles is on the pad, but can come and confirm if Jose Art is on a pad or a wheel. That could be something worth of note. Looking at Nikito, he's picked up a half-second penalty. I imagine that's going to be one of the chicanes. He's picked up that half-second penalty. And that will be a theme for today. There are penalties everywhere. I know that Red Bull Ring is the penalty fest, but certainly this may contend with that. There are penalties to be had on each and every corner. And on those chicanes, you can pick them up. And if you're getting a half-second penalty and serving it on a straight, we should be doing 200 miles an hour. Half a second can easily turn into a second and a half. So we'll see how that works out. So in terms of strategy, again, it looks like it's all medium runners at the front. Jose Art leading, extending that gap to almost 2 seconds from Charles. Is there an element of tyre saving going on here? In fact, Jose Art has better tyres and is leading, so it's not that. Nikito on the mediums as well. Looking at the battery, keeping an eye on that also. And a second back Galeco, but a bit of contact there between David and Galejo, the two Spaniards going side by side as they come through that long right-hander. They're almost 3 abreast here. This is not looking like it's going to end well from somewhere, but I believe that one of these drivers was on the soft tyres. Punisher, again, picking up some damage there. He's got no battery left, but they are bunching up in this mid-pack. This is the mid-pack battle we talked about. This is where we can really see some action developing in this race, and there's about a gaggle of 5 or 6 drivers here really, from what looks to be P4 right through to about P8, P9, P10, P11, P12, 13. Yeah, so from P5 there's 8 drivers in that mid-pack, and anything can happen in these straights. We'll go forward and have a look. Now remember that deck, as he is seen on screen here, Jay Murphy, is on the hard tyre. Now he's fallen back a little bit. I think the hairpin is really the corner that's killing him the most. But he's used all of his battery. I think all of them are pretty much out of battery. My understanding from speaking to a few of the drivers is that, David is doing quite well. His battery, he's done exceptionally well. In fact, that can have an impact on his pace. But my understanding is that battery harvesting is substantially harder from the update. And I believe that may have something to do that braking while turning seems to be substantially harder. Trail braking seems to be out. And using that brake to harvest the battery does not seem to be something that works quite the same anymore. So we'll see what impact that has. But yes, it does seem that even at least the front 4 drivers are doing something materially different to the remainder of the field, because they seem to have some battery, whereas the remainder seem to have little to nothing. As we flick through all of these drivers, we can see, again, just hanging on to some of that slipstream is the Irish driver Jay Murphy. But this mid-pack battle, we can see that pulling away is Jose Art. It's a penalty there, half a second for Penalva. That's going to put him down the field a little bit. Punisher qualified exceptionally well. He's still holding on to that damage. I wasn't sure, I didn't have it confirmed in the regulations, if heavy damage was on, if you retain that damage throughout the duration of the race. If it is, that's a very, very bad luck for Punisher, or he might just be continually hitting the wall. Maybe someone can confirm that for him, but it does not seem to be going away for him at all since we last looked at him. Looking through to David now, 1.3 does seem to be latching onto the back of Nikito there, so I mean he's not out of the conversation. He's went from 1.3 to 1.1. Again, that battery deploying now. He's on the fastest lap. I thought that he was very, very quick. He took 2/10 out of Nikito just now. So we're with David in P4 currently. A lot of battery to be deployed. And it's looking like he's on a tear. Is he going to go purple again through Sector 2 and see if he can hold this together and bring himself right into the conversation? But it's looking very much like Jose Art has got this with a very, very substantial lead. But this group of 3 behind might be fighting for the podium and a mid-pack, and again he is up purple, carrying a lot of speed into that hairpin. If he carries this out and gets slipstream, he's going to take the fastest lap from Nikito. David should get through that final chicane. We'll have a little look at them going through the final chicane and he makes the pass, deploying all of that battery down the straight, approaching 200 miles an hour, heavy braking zone, taking a chunk of the curb. Run out very, very wide into the wall of champions. But David's making moves here now. David is probably going to come across with the fastest lap of the race. He didn't quite get the fastest lap, didn't have full slipstream, but a very quick lap in itself. 2 seconds now to Charles, and Charles 3.5 seconds to Jose Art. We need to have a little look to see what Jose Art is doing with this pace, and maybe just go on board with him to get a look at his inputs and see exactly what he's doing to get this pace, because it really is head and shoulders above the rest of the field, both in qualifying and in the race. How is he managing his tyres? How is he managing the throttle and the battery? What sort of braking is he doing into these corners, and how is he using that to help the car rotate better by coming off the brakes and coasting through some of those longer, faster flowing corners? You can see a lot of coasting being done there, modulating the throttle in third, a very short shift to fourth, and he is doing a little bit of short shifting at about 75%, 50% there, and he's 2.5 tenths up. I mean, he seems to be incredibly comfortable, double shifting up to third, so using the higher gears, and yeah, it seems to be the short shifting is working for him. You can't complain with that delta. You know, essentially, once that slipstream is broken, he's gaining more than half a second almost per lap to P2, who in their own right has, you know, almost 3 seconds to P3, so quite the field spread in terms of the medium runners. It will be interesting when we see Jay Murphy coming in for the race, or coming in for his first pit stop. And we can see these double shifts from Jose Art. He's really using the higher gear, the third gear, out of a lot of these corners. guy's doing a lot of work in terms of controlling all that power. 1,000 horsepower. This is not a GT car. This is not the GT variant. It's almost twice the power of the GT variant, and will be a lot more lively out of those corners than its younger brother in the family of McLaren cars. And he's just carried far too much speed into that corner, wasn't able to get the brakes, and you can see the understeer, wasn't able to correct it. Once you've over braken, that's, you just have to accept you're not going to make the corner. Did he get a penalty for that? I would be shocked and surprised if he doesn't. Okay. So apparently there wasn't a penalty for driving right through the chicane for some reason. If anyone can tell me why they think that might be, why there was no penalty given, or am I not able to see the penalties? Am I not able to see the things on the screen that they see as there was no countdown in qualifying? But I would have imagined he would have gotten a penalty for that, and it doesn't appear that he did. So we're hearing that, well, we've got our first pitter in, David. Well, David was on the soft tyre, so that would be accounted for some of his pace earlier on. He's coming in. We've got, obviously, Jay Murphy in P10. He hasn't come in for his pit stop at this stage. He's 17 seconds off the pace. He doesn't have any battery. Showing a little bit of tyre wear there. The driver behind him, Jocko, is on the mediums, with essentially it looks like a similar level of tyre wear. There isn't really much in it at this stage. Taking a big chunk of that one. The two of these two drivers, could they be working together perhaps? Is Jocko going to give the bump draft? Jocko did pick up a penalty for that cut, which is surprising because it looked like Jose Art cut the entire chicane going through sector 2 but got no penalty whatsoever apparently. But I'm sure crazier things have happened. So the medium runner Jocko has come through again, and they are actually fighting this out. It doesn't seem that Jay wants this driver to be leading despite having a penalty. I'm not sure if that's a move I would have particularly made before the penalty line, but this is a guy who's been to the World Tour. He knows what he's doing. He's on the hard tyre, and he's maybe wanting to be part of this slipstream and not maybe lose connection, knowing that he is on the hard tyre and it'll be hard to make up that time. He's making the very, very best out of this weak slipstream train is Jay Murphy, who is just over 1.6 seconds behind the Spaniard in P8. We'll move it forward a little bit as, very, very, you can see, we're talking about this before, the rear tyres can be lit up by that battery deployment if not managed. The power and torque of this car can destroy those rears, and we can see that's what Jose Art was doing. Was just because he could plant the car doesn't mean he was going to plant the car. It's been very, very controlled and measured throughout this. We can see a little bit of a look at the tyre wear as Punisher has made it up, and it must be on heavy damage because he's carried that damage, we can see now throughout, which is kind of cruel, a cruel setting. Nikito also with the heavy damage, that's clearly having an impact on his race. But big gaps may impact some of the strategy calls that some of these guys are going to do. Will they use the time in the pits to get their damage fixed for the remainder of the race? We're almost hitting the halfway point. We will see more drivers begin to come in for these pits, but we can see now that Jose Art is cruising through. He's used all of his battery. He's going to come through here to finish up lap 10 in the lead with a 4-second gap. But I do believe that Charles is pulling a little bit back. I think that was up as much as 4.7 seconds. So we'll go back and you can see, yeah, that has come down quite considerably. 7/10 it appears in one lap. So Charles has actually done a pretty good job there in at least closing down 7/10. I'm wondering, is this a managing of tyres or how I see it? His rear tyres, you can see there's quite a substantial difference in the rear tyres, which is going to obviously have more of an impact on the exit. The front tyres have more of an impact on the entry to the corners, where they appear to be even between P1 and 2. But it's the rears of Charles that seem to be in a much better state at the moment. 4-second gap over 13 laps. Can something be done with the strategy? Has there been anything done in terms of the fuel? There is a little bit of a fuel variant there, okay? So normal standard fuel deployment at 3 litres per second. Can't see exactly how many percent that is. It's maybe approaching 5, so there could be a second of time with the refueling. We don't know just yet, but it'll be very, very interesting as these guys begin to bring it in for their first pit stop. We'll have a little look back at Jay Murphy. Jay Murphy on the hard tyres has made it its way up to 8th place, 20 seconds behind our leaders. I imagine that he will be looking to do some form of a pit onto the softs perhaps, because it's looking like potentially 2 medium stints might be the play here. If we go for, we look at P1 and P2, yeah, they still haven't come in yet, so I imagine lap 12, lap 13 might be the pit window. Alternatively, do they go a little bit longer to lap 15, 16 and potentially put the softs on? Who knows? And Deck is in. Let's get a little look to see what tyre Deck opts for. Little bit of refueling there to be done. You can see there is a bit of a difference in fuel. I'm guessing it's the medium. Don't get a pit lane exit penalty. And yes, it is the medium. So a hard and a medium stint. Was that the play? Is Jay thinking to himself now, I have a lot of work to do in terms of what I've left myself, because the same drivers who have got now, you know, or had a 17-second gap on him, have made their mediums last lap 12, and they could just come in the same pit window for another set of mediums. So was that the right strategy? Do not know at this stage. What are your thoughts? Do you think that the Irish driver Jay Murphy has made the right move? Do you think maybe he has misjudged this? What is happening? And we see that Charles has pulled this back another second. Since we were looking at Jay Murphy in the pits, we can see that Charles has pulled back another second on Jose Art. We did talk about the rear tyres, the difference in those rear tyres and what that means. A little bit of a difference in the fuel. That fuel is quite substantial as well. I imagine that Charles in this pit window is going to come out on the fringes of slipstream to Jose Art. I don't think this is a foregone conclusion just yet. The earlier pace, the aggression from Jose Art, but it's maybe more of a measured performance in this stint from Charles. And again, we can see that Punisher is coming in. Does Punisher opt to get his damage fixed? I think he in fact has had the damage fixed, which gives him a clear run. Our second fastest driver in qualifying, in P7 now. What can he do with a fresh set of mediums to round out this race? If there's any particular driver you want to have a look at, we're going to have a look at that race, but we can see it is quite fragmented as we're hitting in this pit window. I think it will start coming together as Nikito is making the pass on his countryman in Galejo. You can see there's some damage. And David, our soft runner, has left the lobby. Unfortunately, the heavy damage being carried by Nikito. He'll maybe want to get rid of that. And he's picked up that damage on a fresh set of mediums. So he's going to carry that damage all the way to the end of the race. I imagine these drivers are looking to come. They're not coming in yet. I am beginning to think that it is going to be for P1 and P2. They are looking at a medium soft run. That is my expectation at this stage. Or another medium set, because 14 laps in the mediums, there's still some life left in them. You can imagine the softs in times 4 would do 4 laps, but that gap from Charles is now down to 2.3 seconds. It was only a matter of laps ago, it was 2 seconds more. So this is the driver on a charge in the late stage in the stint. He seems to have just timed things and managed the tyre wear a whole lot better than potentially Jose Art, and he's a pad driver, so I know Calster will like this. Who says pad drivers can't save tyres? Because Charles is certainly doing a fantastic job with it. If you're a pad driver, he made a very interesting video. Go and check that out. The guy has his own channel. These gentlemen all deserve their shout outs for the content they make to contribute to the overall GT community. But down to 2.5 seconds with quite a considerable amount more fuel. Like I said, I do believe they will go on to some form of softs, and I do believe with less fuel to be added that they will be within slip to each other for a battle to the end of the race. But really, the battle is in around here. P6, P7, P8 and P9. Well, there is a gap. Deck is in the final qualifying positions as it stands in P7, the top 7 going through. Is there anything, or a late charge, a crash, anything can happen that can change the outlook for some of these drivers? We can see that the Irishman Jay Murphy is looking to make the pass now up to P6. There is no points, but finishing positions, worth noting, finishing positions in these races will impact your grid starting position for the grand finals, as they both come in and make a little bit of a graze on the wall of champions. And that is again Punisher going for the overtake, going for the move. He believes he has the pace. Seems to be a battle 3 seconds up the road with Penalva on the mediums, hanging on the Galejo between 5 and 4th. Another 2.5 second gap to Nikito. Nikito seems to be out of this one, but we have to have P2 and P1 need to come in and make their pit. With Charles now closing that right down to 1.8, 1.7, going for that later apex, looking as he lost half a second, but is going to gain this all back on the straight. He seems to have that hairpin absolutely nailed on. He's now in slipstream. They're certainly making a decision to come in, and they are. They're both going to come in. I think they're both going to come in for the pit stop, and it appears, yes, both are in. 29 versus 22, a 7% difference at 3 seconds. That's a 2 second gap. We could even see Charles jump Jose Art in the pits and take the lead if he wants to, or does he want the fuel save and retain in that slipstream as they exit. Jose Art coming in on 42, Charles on 39%. It seems he's going for the soft tire, both in the softs. Okay, a 3 second penalty for Jose Art. We did see that earlier on for one of the other drivers, the 3 second penalty. Obviously, that's just, I'm not going to say a rookie mistake, I'm going to say inexperience on this track. We're all inexperienced in this track, and that is going to cost him dearly. That could be the difference between the win and the loss, and it looks like it is. And in fact, as we called it, Charles did jump him in the pits with the fuel. The fuel allowed Charles, this is going to give all the breathing space in the world. Jose Art was the fastest on track in the qualifying. He was the fastest in the race, but over the stint, it was Charles who had the pace, who managed the fuel, who managed the tyres, and came on strong late. And it's such an unfortunate situation for Jose Art. He will be really just looking to probably bring this home safely in P2 of our leaders, but I think the real battle is going to be now for track position in our grand finals. Penalva, Punisher 4/10 back, and something must have happened to the Irish driver Jay Murphy, because they were going side by side, and we have a 4.8 second gap and 4 seconds only to Moore, the Spanish driver. So what has happened there? Maybe we'll see that in the replay, or he will come into the stream just after and make us aware. But again, top 7 go through, 7 go home. As it stands, Charles P1, Jose Art with the penalty in P2, Nikito in P3, 10 seconds off Jose Art after he takes that penalty. We've got Galejo in P4, 2 seconds behind Penalva as they're coming through the wall of champions, and a second behind. Punisher is really making a charge, really just showing that pace that he had in the qualifying. He's made his way all the way back up. He had the heavy damage in the first stint. He's gotten rid of it, and he's able to demonstrate that pace that he's shown us. For him, he's really looking at, there's 2 cars ahead there, and over the space of 6 laps, it wouldn't be unthinkable for him to take both of them, given the slipstream advantage and the long straights to make that pass. I would say the top 3, as it stands right now, possibly a foregone conclusion, possibly all just looking to bring it home safely in their current positions. But P4, 5 and 6 and 7, it's looking like anything can happen. And Deck has just out of nowhere gained 2 seconds. I don't know what is happening with this battery. I don't know where this pace is coming from, but there seems to be some very erratic lap times being done by some of the drivers. Gaps seem to be appearing and closing all of the time. Dex really seems to be on a bit of a charge right now. He's going to look to come back into the slipstream. And if he can come back into that slip, we can have a 4-way battle. He's on a purple sector. So yes, in fact, whatever Deck did, Jay Murphy, the Irish driver, he's absolutely nailed Sector 1. He's bringing it back and getting the exit for the final straight. Looking to see if he can get himself into that 4-way battle, because this isn't just about qualification, it's about setting the grid for the grand finals. If these three ahead, P4, P5 and P6, start the battle, it's easily 2 or 3 tenths in any given corner. They go side by side, and they are going to go side by side. There has been a pass, and it has brought that gap right down to 1.2 seconds, 1.1 seconds as we said. All of this is playing right into the hands of the Irishman, who will have a fresh set of medium tires. He is right there now looking to make moves. This is the race to be watched. This is the one where all the action is going to be happening, it seems. Deck is really on it, but he'll have to bide his time and make these moments count, make the overtakes count. When is the right time to pull the trigger? I think everyone in this race will agree this is the battle. They got a gap ahead of them by 6 seconds. They got a gap behind them of 6 seconds. This is the fight to be watching. They're going side by side as they're bringing it through the Pont de la Concorde. They're going to look into this chicane, which can be very narrow, 2 wide, 3 abreast, coming through. Track penalties can be delivered. Will Deck just bide his time and pick them off one by one? Is he saving fuel for an aggressive push towards the end, or have they all overfueled to make sure they have enough? A big move being made by P5. We've said this before, if you miss your brakes, 2 of them have gone wide. A big change to the front. Deck gains 2 positions and a gap opens up. The hairpin itself and these new physics, I'm not going to say they haven't advertised new physics, but if you've driven, you know there is a difference in how these tires and how they behave under braking. If you overstep the mark on the brakes and you can't get off the brakes quick enough, you will not rotate the car. And Deck has put it into the wall of champions, which is again having a change and a material impact on that lead. It's all playing into Galejo's hands as he has a 1.3 second advantage. They seem to have all filtered in behind him. Deck in P5, again 1 second advantage. 3 tenths to Punisher and Penalva in P7. How will they react? Will they want to rein in that gap to Galejo? Will they start fighting it out with 4 laps or 5 laps remaining in this first of our semi-finals, leading into the grand final this Thursday for the Trinity Series by Mach 25 Gaming? It's beginning to hot up. It's all to play for. Charles comfortably in the lead, 6 seconds ahead. Jose Art looking to bring this home, a large gap of 12 seconds, but this is the race we're going to focus on, is that gap. And Deck making a move down the inside should potentially give him a wider line into this hairpin. Does he go for the cutback or around the outside? Galejo sending it in. Too deep, too heavy on the brakes. You cannot rotate the car heavy on the brakes. Light on the brakes. Deck gets the move done, gives himself an almost half a second gap to Punisher, but weak slipstream in play as they bring it down over almost 200 miles an hour into the chicane, bringing it onto lap 20. It is the Irishman, Jay Murphy, what seemed potentially to be the wrong strategy call, going on the hards, I think. And it's a big moment for the Spaniard Galejo. The wall of champions, clipping the curb, has spun himself around. That's had a big impact on the qualification positions. Galejo taking himself out. Moray getting an early Christmas present. He is up into P7. He has brought his team into the qualification positions. What can be done by Galejo? Can he retain 4 tenths? The man with the pace, and he's picked up some heavy damage in the rear. That is such a shame. It looks like his race has been massively impacted. One moment, 1 lapse of concentration, and that is him going from qualifying and fighting for P4 to being in P8 and going to Murray. And big moves are being made now. This is all playing the Deck. Jay Murphy, 2.5 seconds, almost 3 seconds advantage gained to the pack of Punisher, Penalva and Moray. Now it's all hotting up there, not giving an inch. Side by side they go through the chicane. It's going to be tooth and nail these final few laps. Jay Murphy has turned the pace on late. He found his flow in this track and he has demonstrated the pace that brought him to the World Finals. Tricky car to get a hold of, tricky to get heat in the tires, he was saying, but he has somehow managed to make it work and navigate his way through that pack of 4 and get an almighty almost 4-second lead. 7 seconds to P3, I think, barring any unfortunate circumstances, that'll be out of reach for him, but certainly P4 is looking like his position to take home. Top 4 looks set. 5, 6, and maybe even 7 looks to be the battle here if Penalva, if Moray can get on the back, if there's any penalties to be had, any cuts, and there does appear to be a penalty, and it's Moray picking up the penalty. He's just given the present early, and he's picking up a penalty, but I don't think that half second is going to be enough to change the gap for Gallego with the heavy damage, 7.5 seconds behind. We'll take a look at the battle between Penalva and Punisher coming through. He's very exciting. Last few laps it's appearing, and some good pace being put down as they begin to burn off all of that fuel. Will fuel be a factor towards the end of this race? Have some of them under fuel to bridge some of those gaps? Have they been saving fuel? Let's see what the fuel difference is. And again, Jay Murphy, the Irish driver, does have that fuel advantage on pretty much everybody right now, hence his ability to push the pace and retain that 4-second gap. Punisher is looking like he has been able to get some form of a gap to Penalva, but it's all about this hairpin. Get it right versus getting it wrong is as much as half a second on the exit. It's incredibly punishing, with no pun intended, with how the grip, the traction, the rotation is impacted on this tyre model, but it's still under half a second. You can see that delta coming right the way down, almost 0.3 gained entering in. I'm sure that Penalva will want to do something to make a move, because every position counts, not just qualifying. But if you're in their shoes, what do? Do you take home P5 or P6 and play it safe? Do you make a big move and take a risk and potentially have what happened to Gallego happen to you, taking yourself from a qualifying position into someone who's going to go home and have an early bath? Who knows? I don't know what I would do, but this seems to be the battle where it's all happening right now. Punisher pushing the pace, but it is the Irish driver, Jay Murphy, is extending that gap to 4.5 seconds, and he's actually beginning to rein in Nikito at quite a rate of knots. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but there's certainly a few seconds have come down. He has almost gotten himself into a podium position when it was all but looking over for him. At one point, having seen the medium runners of Charles and Jose Art take that early lead, running the medium stint on tyres with no desire, no reason or rhyme to change tyres and do whatever strategy you want. Again, these are the guinea pigs. Our second race, our second semi-final, will be paying a lot of close attention to what's going down in this race, what strategies have worked, what hasn't worked, what is the optimal strategy, how are you saving tyres, what does burning up the rears mean for you later on in that first stint. As we can see that Punisher, again, but only a 0.3 gap. It's looking like he's in position for a move. Can Penalva make it happen? Now he does go for the move. A very, very brave move through that final chicane, heading into the last lap. Can he hold him off for another second? Does this bring Moray into the fray? P6 for Punisher, P5 for Penalva. Less than 2 tenths separate them in this final lap as they go through the Virage Senna. It's the battle for P5 with all the top 4 all but set, and Moray looking to bring it home. I think that will be our top 7 qualifiers, but this is the battle we're going to focus on right now. Punisher had some of the best pace we saw in qualifying, a P2, some heavy damage in the early stages of this first stint, but has shown that pace to come back. They're sliding, they're looking left and right, they're about to go side by side. He's looking for his move, he's looking for his opportunity, he's looking to see where can he pin this move on, where can he make it stick. Does he want to make it happen before the hairpin? Does he want to make a final last ditch effort into the hairpin, or wait for the slipstream and exit before the final chicane and the Wall of Champions? It seems like he's biding his time, but it has brought Moray back into it, 1 second behind any form of battling into this final chicane, and he's going for the move early on the outside as they come in to the final hairpin for one last time. Penalva teeing him up, looking very patient, and he's still been a contact there. There's a little bit of contact on the exit that will have ruined Punisher's exit and exit speed, will have made him prone to an overtake with 1 second. Now they're going to go side by side for the fun last time into the chicane. Punisher in P6. Can he retake it? Can he make a move into the final chicane? It's looking like it's going to be Penalva in P5. It's going to be Punisher in P6. and Morey is going to bring it home. And Punisher's run out of fuel. Punisher ran out of fuel. The fuel did come into play. It did come into play, and Morey has gifted a second early gift for Christmas. Went from being out of the qualification positions in P8. A crash took Gallego out, and lack of fuel took Punisher from a battle in P5 down to P7. Penalva, Charles is your winner. Congratulations to Charles. Jose Art bringing it in P2. Nikito in P3. Jay Murphy, the Irish driver, in P4. The two Spaniards, Penalva and Morey. He will be counting his chickens. He'll be buying a lottery ticket this week. And Punisher round out P7 as your qualifiers for this first semi-final race. Very interesting race. Very interesting to see the disparity in the pace between some of the drivers, and to see some of the pace shift and change later on as tyre wear and fuel became a component in the story of this race. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought. What would your strategy have been? Would you have chosen what Jay Murphy chose with a hard strategy followed by the mediums? Would you have gone longer and taken softs? Is medium the optimal strat? Certainly was for Charles and Jose Art. But can someone make an alternate strategy work? Is it even possible to do a no-stopper in this race by fuel saving, given that it seems to be about a 20-second loss? Half a second a lap? Aggressive fuel saving? I do not know. Or does that get offset by using the slipstream to tow you along in that train? Great race. Our first set of qualifiers is now set, and I believe they will be getting ready to set the grid or set the lobby for our second semi-final. But just having a little look through, we have Jackson aka Fitzy says it sounds like Flash Dagger. Absolutely, this is AI, absolutely not me, no way. Yes, great to see you. Great to see you all and supporting this esports event before we hit the Christmas period. I hope you're all doing very well as we're in the festive period. A great event that Mac25 Gaming are putting on across 3 different sim titles with ACC, Gran Turismo and Le Mans Ultimate. We will certainly pay close attention to make sure we get the start of the very next race. If there is to be an indicator, obviously I can see that on the screen. There's a lot of Spanish talk going on. Unfortunately, Baxter, you know I don't speak Spanish, so if that's what stopped me from catching the start of the race, maybe someone can give me the heads up that the race is starting. But yeah, great race, everybody. Great to see everyone. 36 of you in. Lovely to see so many of you have come in to support this event. It again, a very interesting race. And I believe we're going to get some of our second set of drivers. You can see there KRK, Kraken Stains Racing, Manuel Hernandez. We'll just bring it back for you to the info. We'll have a little look at semi-final 2 to see who's involved. Only sim racing sport. We've got Alien Motorsport, High Tech, Maniac Revolution, Visceral Esports, the new team headed by Marty. Daz Motorsport, very heavily involved in policing and officiating and scrutineering for a lot of these esports events. Las Palmas Unity, some new teams entering the fray, and familiar faces, Anexia and Avalon, who played a big part in the team's competition. It's good to see ERS involved again, our 4th place finishers at GT Pulpy and Hispania Racing also. Just to give a little bit of a background, some of these, again, Kraken Stains, one of the best Spanish teams in last seasons, would be among the finalists. We've got Avatarda. We've got one of the shortest rosters in the semi-final, but with Guevara, is a very, very fast driver who could do something. Again, Avalon Motorsports is, again, the winners of the GT Pulpy 2024 competition. Has been a few departures, but they'll be looking to again get themselves back into the top echelons of the racing scene. We've got a few more drivers to enter the lobby, but we can see there some of the drivers. Armando, a familiar face. We've got Alex, the ERS driver as well. who is always fast when he makes an appearance in these esports events. Who are you here to support? Who are you looking forward to seeing? I'm being told to save the replay. Let's have a little look, see if I can do that. No idea how to do that. You're talking to someone who's a daily racer and never ventures into the world of lobbying. I once did a stream and I had to get someone else to run the lobby for me. That's how bad I am. So no, I think you're above my pay grade there a little bit, Nick, when you're asking me to save a replay, because I don't really know what I'm doing, to be quite honest. I thought there would be a save replay button. I do it in TT quite a lot, but clearly not in lobbies. It must be a little bit different. But yeah, we got a Nexian. Obviously top 15 in the rankings for Mach25 Gaming. Will be looking to make it through to the finals. AGT, one of the deans of the Spanish GT competitions, a lot of experience amongst them. Not really one standout driver amongst them, but a lot of very credible and very strong drivers, to name but a few. Again, Las Palmas Unity, again, debutants. Very closely linked to the Spanish Second Division Football Club, UD Las Palmas. And obviously, Visceral, highly experienced drivers would be one of the favourites, certainly, looks to me like Legadas, who has been doing some incredible times as of late. I've certainly seen him up on the leaderboards quite a lot. But not to be mistaken for a battle with Krakenstein's own Manuel Hernandez, who was a bit of a standout star in the GT Pulpy Elite event. Demonstrated significant pace in the Super Formula car across all rounds of the competition. Pulled off a fantastic strategy at Interlagos, being the only driver to opt for the medium stint, and came on strong. I think podiumed in several of the rounds of that event. So he'll be one to watch. High Tech Esports, they've been surprised at Pulpy. They were fighting for a final spot until the very, very end. They will be looking with some of the other mid-table teams to be fighting for that top 7 result. And obviously Alien Motorsport, they've lost some of their roster. It does have a bit of a shorter lineup. It's a very much an international field, despite being a Spanish team. But they should be looking to consider themselves amongst the top 7 for that qualification spot. Okay, so we've got Ian in the chat. Alright, I figured the car out. Yes, certainly it was like watching someone literally learn the car on the job deck. So it was great to see from you. Not sure how you found the hard tires. I'm sure you can tell the guys in the chat what you felt with the hard, what you felt with the medium. And how does that impact some of the decisions that are going to be made in this race? Do we see a much more mundane, a much more sterile race with very much repetitions of the strategy from the leading two, a medium run, pit somewhere around laps 12 to 14 would seem to be the window, and bringing home a medium? Does anyone go for a longer medium stint and then attack it later on with a soft stint? Can the softs last that long? I know that some have said that the softs really do get eaten up on exits on the rears. The softs are very susceptible to very aggressive tire wear given the battery deployment. But yes, I believe now the practice is still taking place. We've got a 10-minute countdown. I'm going to just go into spectator mode to make sure that I don't miss the start of the next race, and we'll get a little look at what some of these drivers are doing in terms of lap times comparative to what was on display earlier on. So we're going with online IDs, and we're on with Alex at 28.2. Someone remind me, was it 28.2s or 27.2s that we saw in the last race? I know it was very, very low on the second, but I can't quite recall exactly what it was, so we get an idea as to what sort of pace we're looking for. Pranav Kavala, get him Legatus. Pranav, was that yourself, Pranav, in the last race? If it was, congratulations to you. Good to see you driving and doing a great job. But yeah, we're going to just give these guys some time to get themselves accustomed, get themselves warmed up. Let us know what your plans are in the chat for not just this event, who you think might be our seven qualifiers. 27.6. It must have been a 27.2 then. I think it was 27s. 27.2. Nick has confirmed, and we saw the 27.6 come in. And feel free to talk about GTWS. It's the biggest event of the year. It's the grand finals this weekend. I'm very, very excited to see it. Spain's own Jose Serrano has been incredibly dominant this season, points leader. But the gap is closing. Obviously, a big push at the end from his compatriot Palura, winning the last race has closed that gap a little bit in the points. But it's all to play for. I'm very excited about that, and obviously our very own in lobby or in the chat, Jay Murphy will be competing, will be supporting himself, and as we had Mumu in the chat in the interview earlier on, be looking forward to see those guys do their very best. That's all we ask for them, is we want them to do their best. Whatever their best is, we just wish no bad luck upon them to pull out a very, very good and very exciting race. But yeah, 27.6. I guess it's going to be a case of which lobby is the fastest lobby. I'm sure some people will be wondering from the qualification times, has Jose Art set the benchmark with his qualification pace of a 27.2, which is phenomenal, or can that be beaten by one of the drivers in this lobby? There are many quick drivers to name across the board. Some are new to the Mac 25 gaming esports scene. Some have been around for a long time. Some have been changing teams. And there we do have, my goodness, he is making the stand for Alien. It is Mehdi Hafidi in P3, who we're just going on board with. Had a big contributor to them at the Pulpy esports event, in a team event. Someone who is still very much feared on any grid that he is on. But you would have to say that we don't know what practice they put in, but on paper, this has to be the best driver and most accomplished and experienced driver, given that he is a world champion in his own right in this lobby. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what Mehdi can do with this car around this track. At the moment, a little bit off the pace, but for all you know, it is Mehdi Hafidi. He may have literally just jumped into the car and decided to enter this event at the last moment on behalf of Alien. We do not know. But he will be up to pace in no time whatsoever, I have no doubt. So we have Prava. I'm one of the co-owners, biggest cheerleader of Visceral. Well, welcome in. It's great to have you here, Pranav. You're useless behind the wheel. Well, it's always good to get people to do it for you. Jocko is in. Good to see you, Jocko. Go ERS. Yes, we're supporting all the teams. ERS have been massive on the European esports team for some time now. I've had many good races with one of your former drivers, Maka Davey. Fantastic driver from the UK. Be great to see him in some of these competitions at some point. I know he's got a lot going on. I think one thing for certain that everyone will take notice of is this, crucially, is this pit lane exit. Jose Art obviously caught out because it's so tempting to turn in, because you're literally exiting on the corner. You're literally exiting on the apex of the corner, in the belly of the corner. And the exit pit lane entry or exit line is saying you cannot turn in. You have to take the wide line the whole way around, which is quite interesting. Does that catch anyone out in the next race? We'll keep an eye out for that. But heavy damage, that was a surprise to me. I did read through the regulations top to bottom. I did not catch that heavy damage would in fact be a factor. We got Luol in. Alair Medi, go Medi. Yeah, great to see you all supporting your favourite drivers. Who are you here supporting? Let us know in the chat who you're here to support, who you're wanting to see win, which team you're with if you're with one. And again, one of the points of having the conversation earlier, if you haven't, it was a very, very good conversation for about 15 minutes at the start of the stream with Mikolai Sedziak, Mumu, as you all know him from the racings, daily races, different streams, who's gone through the entire journey from a pad driver to a wheel driver to a daily racer to qualifying for the GT World Series to stepping on top of the podium at the event in Berlin. He was in to have a chat, really to give some ideas to what that journey looks like and what it is. So if any of you are watching wondering how can you get involved in the esports scene, feel free to reach out to see what that entails, what that involves, how you want to sign up for different competitions throughout the year, catering for all levels and abilities, because Mach 25 Gaming, and particularly GT Pulpy, is very much a community event based around the community, not just who is the fastest driver. Certainly the competition is fierce, and you will see multiple world champions competing in Mach 25 Gaming esports events, but it is about the community. It is about helping the community and helping elevate and giving a platform to these amazing drivers to ply their trade. I'm going to see that Medi has just found another 2/10 in that lap, which will hopefully bring him somewhere into the 27s as he comes round to finish this particular practice lap, and then we'll go into a qualifying event. But yeah, nice to see so much of you. I see Richie has come in as well. Good to see you, Richie. Hope you're not working too hard. I know you've had a long weekend of work. But yeah, Christmas is coming. Let us know what your plans are. Let us know what your plans for GTR. Let us know what your thoughts are on the update. Did it deliver? And Manuel Hernandez, I called him the danger man in qualification at Watkins Glen in the final round of the elite competition for GT Pulpy. And again, out of nowhere, he's just beginning to show that pace that he has. Someone to be watched. He's been a member and attended all the major esports events for GT Pulpy in one competition or another. But is here tonight representing Kraken Stains, and so far in the practice rounds has set the fastest pace with a 0.5, which would have put him somewhere around P3, I believe, in the previous race. Again, for those who've just joined, just to go over what the actual race is and recap that. 23 laps, Gilles Villeneuve, Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. It's going to be at sunset, as you can see. Speed, time of day doesn't really matter at ×1. Tire wear at ×4. We didn't know whether fuel consumption at ×2 would play a factor. In fact, it did. It did play a factor. It played a big factor for Charles in the last race, who was closing a gap that was around about 4.5 seconds. It was the tortoise and the hare come to life in the form of a Gran Turismo esports race. Let the gap open up, protected his tires, saved his fuel, stuck to his game plan, closed the gap down to just over 1.5 seconds entering the pits, had less the fuel up by about 7 or 8%, came out ahead of the driver Jose Art, and unfortunately Jose Art had the 3-second penalty for cutting the pit lane exit, which paid curtains to his race. Just wondering how much practice we're going to have here before we start the actual qualifying. Maybe I'll just leave and see what's going on in the chat. I don't know if Mr. Alpha's in, if he's in communication with okay, 4 minutes. Be really nice to know when 4 minutes ago was. But I'm going to stay in and spectate, because I don't want to find myself in a position where I'm missing something. Manuel Hernandez picking up that 3-second penalty. Looks to me like he is, and what a place to do it. Do it in your practice. Cut the pit exit in your practice lap. Don't do it in the race. Don't make that mistake. 3 seconds on the final straight. almost 200 miles per hour in this McLaren P1 GTR 16 edition, almost 1,000 horsepower. That 3 seconds is going to feel like an eternity. It's going to be 5-6 seconds or more by the time you hit the final chicane. We have had 2 minutes to go up on the screen, so 2 minutes before the qualification event. We've got Armando has gone quicker again with a .374. Are we going to see any form of teaming here in the qualification? Are we going to see pairs being formed? Are we going to see alliances being formed? Are these people on Discord to each other, talking to each other, saying, let's do the lap about? This is the thing with a 10-minute qualifying session as opposed to a one-lap shootout like we saw at Pulpy. There is the opportunity, being a lobby, to leverage that slip. I don't know if Jay Murphy is still with us in the chat, if he can advise us, did he feel that slipstream was an important factor in qualification? How will it impact these drivers? So Deca said, I should have went for a softer compound and used higher traction control. Yep. Also helps more than I thought as it generates more battery power. Okay. So, yes. We did notice that with Jose Art, certainly using the higher gears and holding 75%, holding 75 to 80% around those corners as he carried speed through them. So we did notice that the top four who broke away in the earlier stages of the race had retained their battery. We're doing a much better job of retaining some form of battery every single lap. That could have paid the difference in the outcome of the race, certainly with fragmentation in the race. And Jocko in again. Good to see you all in here. Good to see you all supporting. I think we're just looking to see if I can move up through. I can't get past Armando there. Okay. So any of you lobby specialists who sit and spend your time in lobbies as opposed to daily races, do any of you know why the visual for the countdown for the for how long is left in qualifying isn't visible to us? Is this a new thing in the update where they've removed the ability to see that in spectator mode? If someone can let me know, that would be greatly appreciated. But we'll have a look at the clock now. 23 seconds, 27 seconds as they're coming out of the pits. I imagine that is the start. Just put all of the information on the screen now. So, I think we will give Manuel Hernandez his due. Having set the early pace, we'll take a lap with him anyway. I'm sure they'll begin to space out and give each other some space. But I would suggest that they are pretty much looking, you can see they're riding the 75%. Okay, so they're looking to protect their battery now on this out lap, to have as much as possible for their flying lap. Okay, so I'll say the spectator mode is kind of limited, has been for qualifying. Thanks for making me aware. I wasn't aware of that, Mr. Alp, but thank you very much. I wasn't sure if it was an issue on my end or something I could fix, but we're on board with Manuel Hernandez, the 17-year-old. DRS deployed, coming off the corner. The battery is starting to be used as he comes in to the Virage Senna for the first time in his first flying qualification lap. Let's see what the young Spaniard can do, who's impressed us all at Pulpy this year. Bringing it around, we'll have a look at the throttle control, look at the battery deployment. Is it all out guns blazing? I think it will be, with a pit stop very close to the wall on that occasion, using all the width of the track. 0.249, I can tell you that's a very, very quick sector one, based upon the prior laps that were let down by the slot one or semi-final one. Again, bringing it through 5th gear. Short shifting at 80%, that seems to be a common thing with some of the drivers to get the most out of this engine. taking a lot of the curb and very using the higher gears of 4th gear out of that exit. Again, deploying some of the battery, coming into the hairpin point 090. This is looking, if he can get a very strong exit here, this could look like a very good time. Is he close enough to get some slipstream down the final straight? I don't believe he is. But let's have a little look from his point of view to see how aggressive he is in taking this final chicane. How much do you take if you're on a good lap? How brave are you going to be? How much of that curb are you going to take? And that's a big chunk of curb. I think he will have probably been able to go faster, but he's probably protected some of that lap here as he goes across the line. It's a 127.1. 127.1. That is the fastest qualifying lap we have seen, including all of the first semi-final. I did say from that first split in Sector 1 that he was on for a very strong time, and that seems to be the case with a full almost 8 tenths to P2. My goodness, we were on board with the right driver at the right time. So my goodness, what a lap that was from Manuel Hernandez. I think some of them will be taking time out. I do believe that if you do go back to the pits, your qualifying is over, so you have to stay out and make way for the drivers coming through. Not entirely sure if Medi is on a flying lap. He is 2 tenths up, so he is taking a flying lap. He is not looking to conserve his battery in this lap. We will carry on round with Medi Hafidi on this lap and finish the lap with him to see what sort of inroads he can make. He was one of our early favourites for the race itself, given his pedigree, given his caliber and experience, and he is showing that just now, getting proven with every single lap in a very unusual car, a car that not many people, and he's going purple heading into the final sector. Big hairpin here, and will he get some form of slipstream? The Daz driver pulls over. Good, fair play from the Daz driver. It's going to be all about the hairpin. I am not entirely sure that Manuel Hernandez was as aggressive on the final chicane as he could have been. Does Medi Hafidi absolutely send it here? What does he do with it? He's gone a little bit deep there. He's gone very wide to the wall of champions. That looks pretty quick. Onto the power. What can he do? Can he bring something to it? He's lost a considerable amount of time there. I think he went too deep on the entry to the chicane and has cost him massively on the exit, somewhere in the region of 2 or 3 tenths certainly. A lack of slipstream down the straight as the battery deployed. He had a lot less battery than Manuel Hernandez, but certainly P2 looking very clear right now for 2 of the fastest drivers in the lobby. Obviously Alex and 2 Alexes in P3 and P4. Hopefully that doesn't get too confusing later on. Should be beside each other, but Alex is looking to improve. He's almost 2 tenths up, and he does have a clean bill of health on both tires and battery, and may be in a position, as he grazes the wall, may be in a position to get some of that slipstream from the cars ahead. But they're all bunching up heading into the chicane. This is very unfortunate. You're going to want to have a benefit of some slipstream, but you also want to have a clean run to the line where someone isn't going to defend that position. As Rubber Ducks is on his inside, will that impact and hamper him on his exit as he makes the push to the final chicane to try and improve his position and break into the 27s in this lap. We can see the other drivers just pulling over to the side to give him a clean run, very sportsmanlike of him. Let's see how aggressive Alex takes this chicane. How close will he take it? A little bit more conservatively there for himself, I think, but more similar to the type of line that we expect to see. It looks like he could improve, and he does with a 27.8, breaking into the 27s, taking P3 from the other Alex, Legatus, making some moves, and we do have some changes at the top as well, into P6, Gumu in P7. I think we're about 2/3 of the way through the qualification at this stage, and so far is Manuel Hernandez with the fastest qualifying lap that we have seen in either of the races, followed closely by Medi Hafidi in P2. ERS Alex, we were just on board with and have seen improve, followed by AXN Alex, Axion's Alex in P4. And then some very, very marginal gaps to AGT and Visceral's Legatus, who will be looking to improve to get themselves the best opportunity of getting through Virage Senna as cleanly as possible, where we can tell that a lot of incidents and accidents can and will happen with how tight of consecutive corners that is. And it looks like that is Alex, the Spaniard, who is on a flying lap for himself. I'm wondering, opting for second gear exit. We've seen a few of the drivers opting for third, getting a little bit of wheel spin coming off the corner. Has that hampered him? Has that impacted his time? Is he set for improvement? Only a 10th behind Alex, his namesake, in P3, but is he going to get held up for the chicane? That was a very, very clean chicane, I have to say. Minimal bounce. What's that going to mean for his time as he comes over the line? Yes, it was an improvement. It was a very, very clean chicane. A lot of time being made or lost on that final chicane, it appears to be, and he'll be very, very happy with that. 27.7, a big improvement for him by the best part of 2 to 3 tenths. We'll have a little look to see if anyone else is on a flying lap at this stage. No, it looks like yeah, it looks like, okay, so it looks like Tomfer is trying to recharge some of his battery to give himself a flying lap. Legatus, I believe, will be on his flying lap given how much battery he has. Very aggressive out there in third gear. And he's gone 2.5 tenths quicker, so he is now in one of his better laps. Let's stay on board with Legatus as he comes through. Let's get some of those nice broadcast shots of what he's doing as he comes through some of these treacherous chicanes. Get them right, worth many tenths. Get them wrong, can be lap or potentially race over a big, big, huge chunk of that first curb, using all of the track width as he exits. But it's all about the hairpin, all about a hairpin, leading in almost 2.5 tenths up on his best lap. And we have the other Spanish driver just giving way, Alberto just giving some space to Legatus on his flying lap. A lot of good sportsmanship and camaraderie amongst all of these drivers who race together week in, week out in various different esports events. Always race in good faith with good sportsmanship. So it's all about this final chicane. Again, very aggressive for Legatus, going very wide, using all of the track. Can he improve? Can he push himself up from P7? What's he going to be across the line? It is a big improvement, displacing ERS's Alex again into the 27.7s in his own right. We thought it was a good lap. He was on a flyer. We need to see if anyone else is looking to improve. Half-second penalty for Meta. He's obviously taken a big chunk, and that to me is potentially looking like the final laps coming in. So Alex, the Spaniard, is he going to be on any form of improvement at this stage? Is he looking to improve, and maybe only 3 tenths required to take P2, or is this the race set? Legatus is out, and Alex is still on the charge as it stands, and he's up by almost a tenth. A very good hairpin and a good final chicane can give him the P2 spot. Will he benefit from some form of slipstream down this straight? Will the other Spanish driver get himself out of the way? It looks like he's getting a little bit of a toe there. What's it going to be as he comes into? It's pretty much going to be death or glory. It's the final lap of qualifying for P2 or potentially even P1. Very aggressive line there. He's all over the rear, making it talk to him. Can he displace the world champion from P2 and get himself a position that wasn't to be this time? Unfortunately, it's going to be a 3/10 gap. It looks like that's going to be our grid order with Manuel Hernandez, the young phenom from Kraken Stains, Aliens Mehdi Hafidi, the former world champion in P2, and it's going to be Alex from Axion in P3. Visceral's Legatus pulling that last lap out of the bag. Big improvement for him. ERS's Alex in P5. AGT Tomfer breaking into the 127s in P6. And Armando in P7. The rest of the grid rounds out the non-qualification positions. But as we saw in the last race, if you were not part of that race, anything can happen. 3-second penalties coming out of the pit lane, having a crash on exit, the wall of champions, claiming many lives, as we saw in the previous race. Someone in a qualification position went from P5 to P8. Their race was ruined. Places can be won or lost on penalties. There's weak slipstream involved. There's a lot to play for here. So it is not a foregone conclusion, but this is the more educated lobby. This is the lobby who have been able to watch the first semi-final, watch how the strategies unfolded, been able to watch and see what is the best way to manage tires, what is the best way to manage fuel, where are the best overtaking spots, when to make your moves, when to hold back, when to save a little bit of fuel if you can, when to deploy your battery, and when to recharge it. So this is going to be a very educated lobby, which may take a very different material impact on the story of how that race will unfold before us. But I'm just going to wait for the host to start the race. I'm going to keep a very, very close eye on this and keep me right to make sure we actually get the start of this race if there are any indications, because we completely missed it the last time. I'm blaming chat. I'm going to blame someone else for that. I'm not going to bear any responsibility, despite the fact it's entirely my fault. But we'll wait for the race to start. I think we're going to be in for another very interesting battle, another maybe closer race on strategy, which may mean more larger groups of trains together, which can lead to more side-by-side battling. So if it's anything like the first race, I think we can see potentially a more conservative first stint, and then it appeared to be all-out war, side-by-side, 2-3 wide, looking for that track position as the fuel and battery and tire wear came into effect from laps 18 to 23. Yes, and Mr. Alpha saying battery usage will be key. Keep an eye on that. Yes, we will keep an eye on that. Absolutely. It's a very, very valid point. We noticed the top 4 runners, they were there in pace, but they also were the most efficient on retaining and managing that battery. So starting soon. Again, another notification there from Alejandro. Starting soon. And hopefully I'll see whenever I can go into spectator mode and get us all watching the start into turn 1 this occasion. Again, I'm blaming someone else. So Pranav says he's full learning mode at the moment. Well, we're all learning, Pranav. We're all learning every single day, and over 5 years, what I've seen from the GT community is people are happy to help you when it comes down to it. So we'll go on board with Manuel Hernandez, our P1 pole sitter, most experienced GT pulpy driver at the ripe old age of 17 years old. It's the first light, second, third, fourth, fifth light. And it's out and away they go on the grid start. Manuel Hernandez pulling over the right hand side, looking for that racing line entry into it. Alex looking up the inside of Mehdi Hafidi as they come into Virage Senna. It's Manuel Hernandez side by side for Mehdi Hafidi and Alex. They are battling. This is going to cost them later on. There's a lot of action at the rear of the field, but Manuel Hernandez taking a clear almost 6/10 gap to Mehdi Hafidi as they filter in, coming through the first chicane for the first time on lap 1. Keep an eye on that big moment from Alex. Big spin in the slide there, lost a lot of pace. Ligatas in P4, Mando P5, Tom for P6, Alex. A little bit of change at the back there as they're all fighting for track position. Mehdi Hafidi right in the slipstream of Manuel Hernandez. I can see these two working. I can see some bump drafting happen. I do not think he is going to be making for any moves at this stage as we get away on lap 1 to see who has the pace, who can stay with the front runners and stay away from the chaos, stay away from the dive bombs, and a very, very definitive gap looks to be opening up behind P5 as they come in for the first time. Mehdi Hafidi is going for the move. He's not going to be playing this as a team effort. He is going to be looking for track position in his own right. Maybe he feels that the young man's raw pace is going to be a little bit much. Maybe he prefers not to follow going through these chicanes and likes to have the clean air, the clean racing line, and wants to have that position as they begin to filter in and play the smart game. We don't see any side-by-sides coming through after lap 1. No significant change other than the leader has changed positions as we come through lap 1. And again, looking down the inside line A big lunge from Legatus into the first corner. He's going to look for the outside to exit on Alex. And yes, he will get that traction. The battery will deploy and he is going to pick up P3 from Alex. Our man Legatus, Visceral, in the chat supporting Legatus. He didn't quite put it all together in qualifying until the final laps to get a feel for the car, but he is certainly a man who's looking to make moves now as we are on lap 2. Mehdi Hafidi opening up an 8/10 gap, it seems. Only brought down, it's a Frenchman against 6 different Spanish drivers behind him. He'll be looking to bring the former world champion back into the fray. They will not be wanting him to gain any form of an advantage, or it'll be curtains in this race. The experience he has with a gap like that, once slipstream is broken, he will be able to take it home from there. But it does appear there seems to be some form of compliance from the Spanish drivers as they come in, and maybe not, perhaps, as Alex looks up the inside of Manuel Hernandez, and P3 has lost 2 positions, and Legatus is up into P2. Let's just take a little look. Legatus is on the soft tyre. Legatus, the soft tyre runner, is making his way through the field. What sort of a strategy does he have planned as we'll make our way look down through the field to see, again, a soft runner in Cosmo. He's front and rear damage. That's going to absolutely destroy his soft stint. Alex has fallen a little bit down the field on the medium tyre, caught up in that mid-pack battle with Daz Racer with some rear damage in P9. Telson a little bit off the pace there, just hanging on for dear life to some form of slipstream. I think P10 to P14 will be looking to stay with the front runners and at least be part of that mid-pack battle for the top 7 qualification slots. But it's P9, P8, P7, P6, 5, 4, 3, 2. They're all in it at this stage. Nobody has really been able to break the slipstream, and Legatus is 6/10 off Mehdi Hafidi. I would suggest he would be in an attacking position at Virage du Casino heading into the final chicane on this next lap. He's already carving out 2/10 on that chicane. I don't know if he will send it into the hairpin, but he may just take it by this time and be patient and wait for the overtake with slipstream. That appears to be exactly the case, but Mehdi Hafidi with the fastest pace on the medium tyres, drawing the field out. Legatus, I think, will make a clean pass, and I think Mehdi Hafidi will understand that he is a soft runner and will try and get out of his way rather than bring the other medium runners into place. But it is Mehdi Hafidi who has actually retained the lead. Has Legatus already burnt out his tyres? I've been told that these tyres only do have about 3 or 4 laps in them before they do drop off. Legatus obviously pulling out the fastest lap, but this first sector is going to be very, very difficult to get an overtake done. And if Legatus cannot get that clean air and cannot make this soft stint work for him, it could have a very detrimental effect later on in the second stint, whatever his strategy has been. But he doesn't have anything in terms of getting close to an overtaking position for Mehdi Hafidi at this stage, even with the weak slipstream. And in fact, it's Mehdi Hafidi who we said lap 4 for the soft tyres might be all they really have in them. Mehdi Hafidi is beginning to gap Legatus and extend that gap from 2/10 up to 5 or potentially even 6/10. We will see that true pace as we come through the chicane into the final hairpin. But it was the hairpin where Hafidi seemed to gain his pace and protect himself from an overtaking opportunity into the final straight on the last lap. But Mehdi Hafidi is setting a blinding pace now. However, what we have to be wary of is Mehdi Hafidi, and I'm not criticising or in any shape or form critiquing a world champion and what their decision making would be, but what we saw in the last race was the tortoise and the hare effect, going off very, very quick as Jose Art did. Are you watching the tyres? Are you watching the rears? Are you protecting the fuel? What does that mean? Is there a smarter game being played here by Manuel Hernandez? Is Manuel Hernandez holding back and retaining something in the bank for later on in this stint, which will be around about 14 laps? We do not know at this stage as we sit with Manuel Hernandez leading that pack of 4 or 5 drivers. And we just see, I think that was Guru just come off a little bit short there as ERS Alex moves himself into 6th position. With a little bit of a train in the mid-pack here, but we want to see where that goes back to. It goes back to 8th position, 9th, 2.5 seconds back. Cosme in the fight for 7th. So certainly not a foregone conclusion who the top 7 are. 5 laps into a 23-lap race with all to play for, with strategies open, and Cosme will be kicking himself on his soft stint to get front and rear damage. To me, front and rear damage at that angle with nothing on the sides and the wheels looks to me like a little bit of a lag punt, and getting caught in a group of drivers, heavy braking and getting both the front and rear impact. It looks like just a real bit of bad luck for Cosme, and he'll be looking to make that to the end of this stint and make something happen to have an attack on P7 in those qualification positions. But he's looking at least good now to be in the race and at least in that mid-pack. We'll go back with Legatus to see how he's getting, and he still isn't in a position to make an overtake on Mehdi Hafidi, who has led this race from pretty much lap 1, making that overtake into the casino hairpin, and Legatus is just following around at this stage. Is Legatus thinking about making an overtake, or is he thinking about fuel at this stage? We'll just have a little look to check and see. No real difference, but it does seem to be a substantial difference in the harvesting of the battery, which could play a big part as we're about to hit 2 longer straights for these drivers. And you can see Legatus has just been managing that battery as Manu himself has retained some battery, and again Mehdi Hafidi is almost out of battery. What will that mean for his early pace should he burn through the battery in the later parts of the first stint? What will that mean for him in terms of getting reined back to a chasing pack of Spaniards working together to pull the world champion back in? And this is where we really want to look at now, is seeing that battery deploying from the Spaniard Legatus Professional Racing. He's got a 3 coming right down. 2. Look at the speed of that Delta coming right down now. I think the move will be made right now. Yep, too much battery, too much power. Heading into almost over 180 miles per hour as he works his way down through the gears. Some interesting use as to how he worked down through the gears there. And picking up a little bit of a technique that was used to harvest some more battery, and using potentially some of that engine braking on the gearing to get some battery. That's very, very interesting to look at and see how he's done that. And Mehdi Hafidi in second place, formerly 3 seconds gap to Manuel Hernandez, has almost used all of his battery. Will he gain from this, or will the Spaniard of Manuel Hernandez bring him in and rein him in? And we could see a very, very interesting race unfold if Legatus is able to extend his own gap, deploy his own battery, run his own race. What will happen with these front runners, P1, 2 and 3, who seem to be on very, very different strategies and how they are attacking this race? Let us know in the chat what you think is going to unfold, what you think if Legatus can make this soft strategy work, if he can get any form of a gap, use a different compound of tyre and make his stint last longer, or will Manuel Hernandez, who has gained a further 4 tenths on the world champion, Mehdi Hafidi. Definitely not a foregone conclusion. We're seeing something very similar happen here with the battery. We're going to have a little look at Manuel Hernandez. I want to have a little look to see just how he approaches this chicane with the brake, and keep an eye on the brake, keep an eye on the downshifting, and keep an eye on that green bar. Okay, a lot smoother in the input, certainly than the Legatus was. But it doesn't seem to be, whatever they're doing it a lot better, unfortunately, than Mehdi Hafidi, who's found himself in a position whereby he is able to at least benefit from some of the slipstream from Legatus, but is dropping off and has lost that battery deployment potential. 8 laps in, a third of the way into the race so far. It seems to be Legatus has taken the lead, but what is the crossover point? What is the point of diminishing returns for the soft tyre? When does the medium tyre begin to come back? And is the medium tyre, even if the medium tyre does come back, does Mehdi Hafidi have enough boost to counteract what appears to be a battery saving masterclass from at least Ligatis and Manu, but Hernando as well doing a good job. Not very much for Alex in P5. The two Alexes seem to be, and again, it's exactly what happened in the first race. We have 4 drivers who have figured out the battery harvesting hack and have thus put themselves in a position where they're extending their lead with that extra deployment of power exiting these corners. But Mr. Alf saying Manu versus Ligatis for the win here is what he believes to be the case. Very much could be what happens. I don't know. I know it's a penalty for Manuel Hernandez taking an aggressive line, but you can see another 7/10 was brought. He brought Medi in by another 7/10. Exactly what was happening with Charles and Jose Art in the last race, and Hernando has closed down some of that gap as well. So again, it's a very much a tortoise and a hare type of race where people are saving more so than a fuel saver. The battery saving aspect and the ability to come on strong in the later parts of a stint, laps 9, 10, 11, 12, bringing yourself into that pit window and being able to take some ownership as to where you will come in and make your own strategy work. I'm very interested to see if these medium runners all go for a medium stint, one stopper, or if any of them choose to go longer on the mediums to bring that soft tire into fruition, because ultimately Ligatis is on a soft tire here. He's made it work for 9 laps. 9 laps, let's say even 8 good laps, okay? 8 good laps, all of a sudden you're looking at lap 15 on the mediums. That opens up options that weren't potentially really explored so much in the prior race. So we may see some alternative strategies come on now, whereas maybe we'll get an earlier pit around lap 11 to 12, and we can see Ligatis coming in now. 8 or 9 laps, I think 8 might have been optimum, but he's obviously extended. I imagine he will go on for mediums now. I'd be very shocked if he went for hards. I think it's going to be the medium tire, 57% of fuel. He's actually managed his fuel pretty well there, to be quite candid with you, but I imagine this to be a medium tire. If it is, he's going to be in a very strong spot if this is in fact the medium tire and not the hard, and it is the medium tire, right? That could change things. That could make some of these people be very, very reactive at the front, who are planning for the medium stint and may think, now hold on, do I go a little bit longer here on my stint to have a very light car on softs at the end of the race? Again, we did say that the first race was the guinea pigs. This race gets to look at all the options and begin to experiment with them in front of your eyes. And I think we might see that the soft and medium stint might be the play here, but I'm going to be very, very interested to see if Ligatis has come out in some clean air, and he has come out in clean air. This guy is able to run his own race from here. What will that mean for the rest of the guys? And what is the gap? The gap is only 16 seconds to our leader, Mehdi Hafidi, who will go on board with now and take a look. Hernando has made the pass in Manu thanks to the penalty that was deployed earlier on, but there will be 2 Spaniards sitting in the slipstream now. This is not a one-horse race, it's not a 2-horse race. This is looking very much like there's really 4 cars here in this, with a chasing pack led by ERS Alex, who are only a matter of seconds behind. They're in the mediums, all to play for in these qualification slots. Back to P7. I mean, Ligatis is in P7, having already pitted. So he's looking to be and he's actually catching Mehdi Hafidi. That was 16.5 seconds at the start of the lap. It's now into 15. I think Visceral's Ligatis may be the man to watch here if he's pulled an absolute blinder, because he's demonstrating the pace on the medium tire as well. If these 3 begin to fight, if these 3 begin to play, if these 3 begin to defend, this is all playing into Ligatis' hands, who's had a good soft stint, is on the medium tires, has clean air, has saved his battery, and looking in a very, very strong position. I wonder, are these 3 drivers aware of exactly what's going on behind them? But they are going side by side. Armando making the move, and Manuel Hernandez making the move also. Mehdi Hafidi opening the door. The 2 Spaniards looking to go through. What does this mean for the architecture and structure of this race? Mehdi Hafidi still a marginal amount of boost. But he is looking pretty strong on fuel. We just looked at tire wear. Alves Armando is going very well right now. I think that Manuel Hernandez is just biding his time. I don't know that Manuel Hernandez wants to fight. I think he's going to be looking at the long game, but we'll go back on board with Legatus to see where he's bringing that gap down. Look, 14.5 seconds. Right, this is absolutely massive. He's gaining almost a second per lap on the front runners, on the fresh mediums, against the worn mediums of Hernando, Manu and Hafidi. Got another medium runner coming in at this stage. But I'm just wondering, with this being the pit window, with these three drivers staying out front, do they now start to play with their own strategy in their mind? Do they get nervous by that gap? They are not aware of the gap with Legatus coming down unless someone's feeding them that information. They're not aware that he's carved out almost 2.5-3 seconds. They can't see that on their Delta. You can only see that in the new DLC, what the actual gaps are. So we'll have to really see what sort of compliance is going to unfold. Mehdi Hafidi looking to drop off a little bit of the pace there. Maybe beginning to feel the effects of just not quite having that battery deployment. Manuel Hernandez is also they're all very low in battery right now compared to Legatus, who has retained more battery than anyone on the track. In fact, he's beginning to catch some of the drivers who haven't even pitted at this stage. This is looking very, very interesting. I wonder do these guys begin to come in now? This would be a pit window, but no, they're going to go on again. If they are considering finishing fast on the soft tyre, they will be looking somewhere around lap 15 and extending. I would imagine on a 2 medium tyre stint that this lap 13 would probably be the last lap where they would make that decision. I think we'll find out a lot about the strategies that are going to be deployed in this race at the end of this lap. But they are going side by side. I don't know how advisable this is. Manuel Hernandez knows what he's doing. That to me might suggest a pit entry on this lap. That might suggest he's viewing this lap as an in-lap for him because he wants to gain that track position back. That can generally be a good indicator of that he wants to have the track position because he feels that potentially he feels potentially that he will have clean air coming out and will want to be latching on and leading the charge to catch up with Legatus, who's done an almighty job. Hernando, however, with good track position, is about 5% back on fuel to Hafidi and Hernandez. So that's going to play an impact of potentially 1.5 to 2 seconds in the pits, depending on how aggressive he is with his fuel. And Manuel Hernandez has opened up a 1 second gap to Hernando. Is he going to come in and make this stop? He's pushing very aggressively, or, well, we'll know right now, or is he going to come in and extend his stint he's extending the stint. One of them's coming in. Again, alternative strategies are coming into effect. Hernando has come in, looking like 2 stints on mediums for him. Hafidi and Manuel Hernandez have stayed out. 2 second gap to Hafidi. It's looking to me like they have went for the alternate strategy, the reverse of Legatus. They might be looking to finish on the soft tyre. Hafidi will certainly have some work to do in retaining that battery, and it's looking like pretty close in the tyre wear. But let's see where Legatus is. Up to P5, 12.5 seconds. He is on a charge right now. This is incredibly entertaining stuff. I'm really looking forward to laps 16, 17, 18 when everyone's made their pit stop and all the various strategies begin to come into effect. We're looking at 4 or 5 drivers who really have a claim to the win here, and many, many more who have a claim to the mid-pack. Remember, top 7 go through, but it isn't just about qualifying. Your finishing position will dictate your starting position in the grand finals. And at the moment, it's Legatus getting an almighty good tow from P4 and P3, who I believe are yet to make their very own pit stop, which will give a massive advantage to Legatus. I imagine that Gumu and Alex will be looking to come in at the end of this lap, if not extend for the soft tyres themselves. Again, that gap staying around 2 seconds between Hafidi and Manuel Hernandez is quite consistent, and it's looking like they're coming in now. Now this will be interesting. We've seen that the soft tyre can do 9 laps. Is it double mediums? or are they both going to go for softs? This is going to be very, very interesting. Same for Alex as well. Does any of them go for the soft tyre at this stage to open up a gap, or is it all going to be the medium runners with Legatus coming through? Let's have a little look. Soft for Manuel Hernandez, medium tyre, soft for Mehdi Hafidi as well. They have gone for the alternate strategy. They're going to be absolutely on the rims by the end of this race. They did see the moves that were being made by Legatus, and Gumu is right on top of Legatus, but Gumu has not pitted yet. This is the gap we're looking at. Manuel Hernandez on the soft tyre, 2.5 seconds behind Legatus on the medium tyre. We're going to have a very, very interesting battle here. A 2.5 second gap, looking at the battery, and we're going to have that beautiful, beautiful aspect of strategy where we get some crossover on the tyres, where that worn medium, where we see it's right in its sweet spot around about the first 4 laps. Obviously a lighter car might extend it to 5. I think around laps 18, 19 and 20, if Legatus can hold off, we're going to see a very, very interesting battle. And what can Hafidi do? What can Hafidi do to close that gap to Manuel Hernandez? He's still got very, very little battery. Manuel Hernandez has no battery. Gumu's got no battery, but Legatus, the man, is doing a great job. He's always got the battery. Let's have a little look at the inputs here. How is he harvesting that battery? How is he ensuring that lap after lap after lap he is retaining some battery in the system to give him enough to give him exits and retain the pace? 2.6 tenths. We'd expect to see some form of a gap come down, but this is really interesting. Can Legatus, with some battery on mediums, fend off the charge with Manuel Hernandez on softs with no battery? So we have this really interesting dynamic unfolding right before us right now. We can see in the corners, absolutely yes, in the technical sections, but is there going to be a gap? And there is a gap. It is increasing. Legatus is being able to hold off with some of the battery deployed, but it looks like Manuel Hernandez has warmed up those tires right now and is pushing exceptionally for a purple lap. He will be probably in slipstream, having come off this next chicane through the hairpin. Does Legatus defend? Does he let him through? What does he do? Do they battle? Do they fight? Do they bring the world champion Mehdi Hafidi back into the fray? Certainly any form of side-by-side, 2 or 3 consecutive corners, and Mehdi is right back into this race in his own right. At the moment, it's Legatus, the visceral driver, 1.3 seconds ahead from Manuel Hernandez, the chasing car on the sauce. We thought Legatus done an amazing job, just like we saw at Interlagos in the elite race, where we saw everyone going for a soft and medium stint. We saw one driver take a medium and medium. He dropped off in pace, then came back very, very strong at the end. That was Manuel Hernandez. He's actually in the opposite position right now. He's on the softs, so he's going to have the pace now. But what does that pace look like in the last 3-4 laps of the race when those softs begin to fall off a cliff? Does the medium tire come back on him then? Does the battery come into effect? I mean, it's looking like Legatus has more battery now than he did in the last 2 laps. And Manuel Hernandez is still on nothing, pushing for everything in the slipstream. He'll be able to make the overtake, but I'm not sure even if he makes the overtake, even if he gets the gap to Legatus by even 1, maybe even 2 seconds, I don't even think the race is over. I think Legatus is very much in this race right to the end with the way that he's managed his tyres and the way in which he's managed his battery. I don't even think he's going to fight this too hard. Well, there we saw the power of the battery kicking in with the acceleration. Whether you like it or not, the battery deployed and just gave him a massive jolt of pace into that braking zone. Mehdi Hafidi only 2 seconds behind now, still very much in this race as we go into the closing third of this race, semi-final 2, Mac Gaming 25, putting on the Trinity Series, the Gran Turismo edition. Also, Le Mans Ultimate and ACC will have their own races, but again, Legatus only 3 tenths behind as Manuel Hernandez takes the lead on the soft tyres. I don't know that Legatus is even going to fight this because he's just charging his battery, ready and primed for his attack whenever the soft runners fall off on tyres. A little bit of a fuel advantage for Manuel Hernandez, but all three seem to be pretty even as it stands on fuel. 2 tenths lost, but that's side by side. Mehdi again bringing down another 2 tenths. Every time they go side by side, it's playing right into Mehdi Hafidi's hands. If he can get himself back into this race with his experience, he has absolutely every chance of making a dent and fight for that winning position. Legatus is not ready to give up this race. He's not wanting to give up track position at all. In fact, he is fighting tooth and nail, and Mehdi Hafidi is absolutely loving this. Mehdi Hafidi, having been 2.5 seconds back, is now right into a three-way battle. 11 seconds to P4, P5, Cindy pretty much in their own little grouping, and P6 has its own gap. P7, again, quite a large gap to Cosmo and P8, but it's actually the battle for the lead, which is the most exciting battle as it stands right now. The lead is changing corner after corner. Softs versus mediums, no battery versus some battery. The dynamic of this race is going from strength to strength, and Hafidi is making a move on the inside. It's a bit of a half-hearted move, a little bit of a look, but wasn't quite enough to get the job done. Filters back in as they bring it through to the Wall of Champions to finish up lap 18. We're going to have 19, 20, 21, 2, 3 and 4. We're going to have 5 laps left of this race as we bring it in, and a big send round the outside from Manuel Hernandez. My goodness, this is going to be some tremendous racing. I think Mehdi Hafidi is just biding his time. He's just watching these two go tooth and nail at it, and he is sitting quite happily watching this all unfold from them as they go so aggressive at each other into every corner. A simple half-second penalty, the wrong connection at the wrong time under the wrong throttle, can mean curtains for any one of these drivers. And remember, it is strong damage involved, so the damage will stay to the end, so they have to be very careful with how they manage their exits and how they manage their contact with each other side by side into the chicane. Didn't see that happen. Is there a switchback option available from Mehdi Hafidi? I don't even know if he's even interested in taking it at this stage, but he is getting the exit speed, and he is getting the exit speed on Manuel Hernandez. Legatus, and a big send from Manuel Hernandez from third, fighting now again up into first place. Legatus filtering in, Mehdi Hafidi, oh my goodness, a bit of contact there. It's changing tooth and nail. This is one almighty battle. They will not give an inch in each other. I did not think they would be quite this aggressive at this stage of the race, but it seems that is the case. Manuel Hernandez on the soft tire, Legatus following on the medium, and Mehdi Hafidi on the soft tire. Legatus find himself, he's going for another move again as we enter in the virage center. The round the outside move, defending the inside. Manuel Hernandez on the outside, giving him the inside as they come off this bend. This is absolutely spectacular driving from the two young Spaniards. Mehdi Hafidi, the veteran, the world champion, again sitting primed, watching everything unfold, not getting involved, just watching how this happens, ready to make his charge, ready to make himself felt, his presence felt. When he makes a move, he will make it count. He's not interested in a battle. He's not interested in fighting corner to corner. He's interested in the win. And at this stage, he is poised and ready, sitting in third place and watching this almighty battle that unfolds. But what he will not want to happen is being on a soft tire, getting slowed down by a medium runner. He may want to make the move if he feels that Legatus, and a bit of a contact there with Mehdi Hafidi into the back of Legatus, has caused Legatus to cut the actual full corner off the chicane and give a 1 second gap to Hafidi. So that's kind of changed things. I don't see that any penalties were deployed, and I don't see any damage. This is great for us. We don't want to see penalties, we don't want to see damage, we want to see a race tooth and nail to the end of the race, and that is exactly what we're getting, as we're going to end up finishing lap 20 of this 23 lap race in semi-final number 2. Manuel Hernandez, the soft runner, increasing that gap to 1.4 seconds to Legatus. Will he be able to make the softs last all the way to the end of the race? And Mehdi Hafidi is making the move now. He's making the charge on the medium runner as well. Can Legatus bring it back into this race? Has he had his moment, or can he make the mediums have some form of life left in them? Is there going to be a crossover, because his own soft tires looked like they were on the rims? He lost a full second of pace on that 9th lap. It was quite an early pit for Hafidi and Manuel Hernandez, but they seem to be doing a pretty good job of saving the tires at this stage with 3.5 or 2.5 laps left in this 23 lap race. but I'm just wondering if Hafidi and Manuel Hernandez get into a battle, what does that mean for Legatus? What does that mean for bringing Legatus back into the race? What does that mean for the man who is able thus far to save his battery, but he's looking very, very low on his own battery at this stage? Maybe that's putting puts to his strategy. But so far, 3 tenths now. Mehdi Hafidi, the veteran, the most experienced driver on the track, has been able to navigate himself into P2, sitting ready in the slipstream of Manuel Hernandez, the 2 soft runners. Legatus starting on the softs, he made it work, he showed some incredible pace, but generally, as a rule of thumb in Gran Turismo, unless there's significant fighting, starting on the harder compound of tyre and finishing on the softer compound tends to be the way to go. But it is not over yet. It is not over. Once there's a couple of moves done, we saw it with Mehdi to bring him back into the race. Remember, Mehdi Hafidi was 2.5 seconds off coming out of the pits. He's made it all up, and he's put himself into a position to be contending for the win. But Manuel Hernandez, out of nowhere, is seeming to open up that gap, floating around 1 second. Slightly better tyre wear on the fronts, but his fuel is very, very low. All of their fuel is very, very low. They're all running on fumes at this stage. They've all seemed to have underfueled. Will we see some form? We'll be able to see it ourselves. But are they beginning to play at this stage with the fuel mapping? Are they beginning? Is that why Legatus has fallen off more than the others? Because they seem to have a little bit more fuel than he has been able to retain. This is all getting very, very interesting as we're going to finish up lap 22. It will be absolute fireworks, no doubt, heading into the last lap between Manuel Hernandez and Mehdi Hafidi, waiting for his move, sitting half a second behind, looking, taking a narrow line there. Manuel Hernandez parking it on the apex. Parking it on the apex to ensure he retains that place. He did not want the overtake to be done at that stage, hampering Mehdi Hafidi's exit speed and ability to get the job done. But to me, it looks like this is going to come down to some form of fuel at the end. Manuel Hernandez has less, a move, a look, and a touch, but nothing made. Manuel Hernandez retaining half a second, but I think that the fuel is going to play an impact for him. How can Manuel Hernandez fend off from Mehdi Hafidi as we enter the final lap? We enter the Virage Centre for the final time of this race to determine the winner of semi-final number 2 and placement on the grid for our grand final on Thursday. As Manuel Hernandez opened that gap, an excellent exit off the Virage Centre, coming into the first of 3 chicanes, very fast flowing chicanes on this beautiful new track in addition to Gran Turismo coming off Spec 3. And Manuel Hernandez is going purple on the final lap. He's saved something. He's got very little in the tank, but my goodness, is he not giving up without a fight? But oh my word, as Mehdi Hafidi closing that gap down to 3 tenths. I think Manuel Hernandez is running on fumes at this stage. I think Mehdi Hafidi is primed and ready to make a move. Does he make his move before the final hairpin? Does he wait and take a late line and wide line and late apex to give himself the run into the chicane? We've got Hernandez going defensive. Hafidi on the wide line. Does he park it? It's looking like Hernandez is going to park it, and Mehdi Hafidi is experienced, but what's it going to mean for him as we look 2.2 tenths, 2.5? Is there going to be enough? Is Manuel Hernandez going to be able to hold this off with the defensive line to get into the chicane? Less than 2 tenths as Mehdi Hafidi taking a look inside. He's into the wall! As Mehdi Hafidi, was there movement in the braking zone? Mehdi Hafidi has gone into the wall on the final lap. That will be obviously investigated by our stewards. Fortunately for Mehdi Hafidi, he's done a full 360 and put himself in a position to still bring home P2. Legatus bringing home P3, but my word, that will be one that will be looked at. As it stands, it's Manuel Hernandez in P1, Mehdi Hafidi P2. An outstanding battle from the 2 drivers that unfortunately led to that collision at the end. Legatus picks up a well-deserved P3, ERS Alex in P4, Hernando P5, Gumu P6, and Actions Alex rounding out our top 7 qualifiers. Congratulations to all of you. Well done to Cosme, Tomfer, Hightex Manuel, the Daz team, Tyson, Robert Dux, and Avu for putting in your best efforts. What a race that was. Absolutely outstanding stuff, but I do believe there will be some form of investigation and look to see what went down that led to that collision in the end. Was it a case of jockeying from Mehdi Hafidi, looking for the fake and maybe pit laning himself? We don't know the answer. Was there any movement from Manuel Hernandez that caused that off his own racing line? We don't know the answer just yet. We have to give the benefit of the doubt. As it stands, Manuel Hernandez in P1, Mehdi Hafidi P2. At least it was not a race ender for Hafidi, and he still brings it home in P2. An outstanding race for all concerned, but I'm no doubt there will be some review of the footage. Let me know what you thought in the chat of that race. Absolutely outstanding. I would have loved to have seen a move into the final chicane. I would have loved to have seen a side-by-side or what the potential was, but it was not to be. But those are your qualifiers for this event. There will not be any form of decision made on P1 or P2 until sometime after the event has come to a close. But we can see there that Mehdi definitely hates hybrids, and Manny says, you scared me. I'm sure that they will figure it out. They've both raced many times together in the past, but we just have a little look here and give you an idea as to what was happening. Tonight's was the qualifying event for the Trinity Series in Gran Turismo. We're back again at the same time on Thursday evening. Mark it in your calendars. We've seen what's unfolded today. And my word, are you in for a treat? If Gilles Villeneuve did not deliver tonight, we're going to Yas Marina. On Thursday night, Yas Marina. I'm not going to reveal the car just yet. But it's going to be an absolutely outstanding race with our two sets of finalists, grid positions determined by their finishing position in these races. I hope that you have enjoyed the show, enjoyed the last little bit of esports racing across some of the best teams that EMEA and further afield has to offer. We've had world champions, world tour drivers. We've had all levels covered. It's been amazing to watch this race, amazing to call the race. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you have too. And I look forward to seeing you on Thursday evening for the grand final, where we will crown our Trinity Series champion. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, and I'll see you there. Take care.